Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to Lawsplaining the Interwebs. I am your host. I'm your wonderful, lovable host, Nick Rekieta of Rekieta Law, a small law firm in central Minnesota. And with me today is a very special guest to help me sort of suss out the events of something that happened over 1,000 miles from where I live. And that is my guest, Chris. Hey, Chris, how's it going, buddy?
Yo, what's up? What's up?
Oh, not
Um,
much. What? Sorry, go ahead. I didn't mean to.
no, it's fine. I'm just tired from work and I'm just ready to get right into this, just juicy details and all that.
The juicy details. I mean, do we have to break? We have to break the news right away, right?
Yep.
As I have stated, this is a devastating and crippling loss for Vic Mignogna. He's basically in jail now. I don't know if anybody else knows this, but because Vic lost so bad, they arrested him. He's in prison. Ty was executed on the scene. Jim Bullock, he fled to Bermuda. I think you saw that, right?
Oh yeah, I saw that. That was embarrassing.
But yeah, no. So of course this is hyperbolic sarcasm. It's everything is fine. We're gonna talk about what happened at the hearing. Let me lay out the show for you guys. What is? I need to get a. I need a beard. I have one. I need to comb my beard and
Same.
mustache. Um,
Same.
so let me lay out the show for you guys. Chris and I are going to talk for about an hour. We're going to talk. That's kind of the target. It can go longer. No big deal. We're good with that. But that's kind of the target. The first segment of the show. I'm going to talk with Chris about. He was actually in the courtroom today for the hearing. There was. Can you quickly confirm? Was there a Shane in the courtroom today?
No, there was no Shane at all.
So there wasn't a weird gremlin eating shoes and like trying to flat out rape the judge's chair or anything like that.
No, unfortunately, no. I didn't get to see that show today. No.
Okay, so let's be very clear about who was in the courtroom. Was Chris. Who was not in the courtroom was Shane. Now, as for the oh, well, I'll get to the rest of the questions in a little bit because I do have a bunch. We briefly talked about this earlier, but I want to, I have a bunch more questions to ask about this whole thing. So we're going to talk for about an hour. Then I'm going to give you some additional thoughts about this because I've kind of tried to confirm as many details as I can with people who were there. So I'll give you some additional thoughts about that. And then going into the final segment of the show, we're going to talk about Jamie Markey's filing today. We're going to go through it. It's not a long one, but there's some really quirky parts of it that we'll talk about. And I think that'll be interesting. And real quickly, let me preview what tomorrow's show is going to be. For those of you who may not know this, you probably know my channel started by me covering something called the lawsuit. The lawsuit was it was a lawsuit filed in New York State by Maddox, who lives in Los Angeles and does all of his business in Los Angeles, against Dick Masterson, who lives in Los Angeles and does all of his business in Los Angeles. Dick's company, which is in Los Angeles. Let's see. A couple other members of Dick's board, which are also in Los Angeles and Las Vegas. And then who else? So the customer service guy from Patreon, Jordan Cope, who's in San Francisco. Patreon, who is in San Francisco. Also, Asterios Kokonos, the only person who actually lives in New York. Then Weber Shanwick, Asterios' former employer, who's located in New York. And then finally... who else was there? Oh, Weber Shanwick's lawyer was also sued individually. This is all filed by Maddox. This lawsuit has some dumb stuff in it. Maddox's lawsuit was the worst thing I've ever seen as far as the dumbest lawsuit you can muster. And his attorney is an absolute shameful display of attorney. It's like if Shane were an attorney, that's what Kevin Landau would be. It'd be disgusting. So anyway, long story short, that case has been on hold for like over a year now, but they got a hearing date and it's in 3 days. So tomorrow I'm going to recap for all of you new people. I'm going to, for the first time since November of 2017, I'm going to reread the initial filing document with all the commentary for everybody, because there are so many of you who have not been exposed to the lawsuit. And then we'll go through the original document, and then we'll probably try and hit some of the other points. I'll see what I can put together for the show. It's a masterpiece of law. It really is. It's great. So that's going to be tomorrow's show. It's going to be very lawsuit centric, because the stuff that happened over the weekend and today is very, very funny in its own way. So we'll talk about that as well, and we'll be kind of cover that going forward as things ramp back up. But for now, Chris, let's talk about this. Let's talk about this hearing today.
All right.
Okay, so paint the picture for me. Who is in the room? When this thing starts up, you've got clearly you got Casey, Erick, and you've got Ty Beard. Who else is there?
So the lawyers that were present were Ty Beard, Mr. Bullock. I don't know his first name.
Jim.
And then Jim Bullock. I'm sorry, Jim Bullock, and then another female that was there. I don't know if she was one of the Amazons.
Yeah, that was Amazon Prime, Carrie.
Oh, okay. So one of the Amazons were there. And then on Casey's side, it was Casey, another female, which I have no idea, and then 2 other people sitting right behind them. I have no idea who they were.
They were not the defendants, though, right? It was not Monica or Ron Toye.
Well, I mean, if Monica's another dude, I don't know.
Hey, it's 2019. I don't know what people do anymore.
Exactly.
So Ron Toye wasn't there either, right?
No, none of the people in the lawsuit were there. No.
Okay. See, this is interesting, of course, because you might not have seen all of this, but Shane has been out in full force. Now, when Shane comes out in full force, you can assume that he's trying to do damage control, right? Yep. It's like when his parents would come home and he only had left shoes, and he had to come up with some stories about why the evil man came in and stole all of his right shoes or whatever.
Oh, and the dog ate it.
Right.
Pretty much.
We don't have a dog. Get back in your kennel, Shane. Yeah, so he seems to be in full-on damage control today. At least that's how I interpret it. So he has been talking just definitively about what happened there. Now, the best part of that is I assume that Casey Erick isn't talking to Shane. So I assume that Casey Erick went back, told his clients what happened, and then his client, Ron Toye, has been sending info to Shane, and that's where Shane's getting his stuff. I don't know that. That's my assumption. I guess it could be from someone on Casey's team. Who knows? But that's all. It's important to point out that's third-hand information. And I think more importantly, it's funny to point out that's probably a sales pitch of Casey talking to his client about how great they did today. So We're gonna,
honestly, like when I heard that that Shane actually got the information, I told the information right when I did. My assumption was that they're trying to make Shane the pretty much of sharing information out there. The problem is no one really cares about you, Shane, like at all.
Oh, that's brutal.
Like seriously, like stop.
He gets the same 13 likes on every tweet. I love it.
Exactly. It's really embarrassing. Like I don't like him.
Yeah. Well,
he creeps me out.
Don't worry. I don't think Shane likes him either.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so we've got Jim, Ty, and Carrie. We've got Casey, Erick, and we've got a female associate attorney. I think I know who it is, but we don't need to bother like naming her or anything. Like again, anything directed at these people for doing their jobs, even if sometimes they might do a poor job. Not every, most attorneys don't win all the time. Most attorneys have bad days or good days. Most attorneys make good and bad decisions. I'm sure Ty and company made some errors from what their strategy was, because once you get in front of the judge starts asking questions, and then you have to answer them. And that might not be what you intended to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
And the judge doesn't always care about what you think the judge is going to care about. Okay, so they're there. Judge comes in, and things get started. Can you kind of paint the picture of what happened after that?
So after that kind of whole, like the whole getting up, sitting down, and all that, immediately it started getting like heated. Just they started talking about confidentiality and just keeping it like public, and so pretty much Casey's whole defense was that Ty's party is trying to keep everything confident, but Ty is arguing that we want to keep certain things private, mostly things that were already private, like the Funimation investigation or just tax forms or something like that. So that's pretty much what it started out to be, and that went on for about 10 to 15 minutes.
Okay, and what's your kind of impression of the judge? Is the judge mad at a particular party? Is he mad at every party? Is he in dad mode? Like, what's going on here?
He pretty much went in dad mode. He's probably the most fair judges I have seen. I'm coming from Wisconsin. Like, even they're not this fair. Like, he just cut to the chase and decided to settle kind of on both sides and all of that. But no, I love the judge. He was good. He was good.
He's not that old, is he? He's
no.
Yeah. So okay, so dad comes into the room to some fighting kids, right?
Yeah, yep.
And they're arguing over this confidentiality stuff. And okay, so at first, is it Ty doing the arguing, or is it Jim taking the lead? What's going on their side of the I guess on Vic's side of the room here?
So pretty much Mr. Jim Bullock actually was taking the lead on this, and they went straight into about talking about what they're hearing, what the hearing's about, and why things should stay certain things should stay confidential.
Sure.
That's pretty much their whole side right there.
Gotcha.
And Mr. Mr. Casey. Mr. Casey Erick, the super cuck is what I call him. That's the super cuck right there. But nah, he comes in straight like hound dog, and like kind of like one of those pissed off teenagers that's like, no, we want to do this and all that. Like, we want to keep everything we want to make everything public and all that. So it was pretty much that for 15 minutes.
Did he have an argument as to why everything should be public?
Oh,
or why they wanted to keep it public?
So to his whole argument for keeping it public was pretty much because you and Monica and Mr. Soye is already talking about this publicly on social media. That's why he wants to keep it public. He wants literally everyone to know about everything.
Okay, so I want to put this out there for the world to understand. Vic has asked for confidentiality, and let's be clear, it was not granted. Although, to be honest, I don't think that that's a loss at all, personally, and I'll explain why later. But let it be known, Vic asked for confidentiality. Casey Erick, Ron Toye, and Monica Rial said they want everything public, right? Can I quote Casey on that?
Yes, everything public. I wrote that down. He really wants everything to be public.
So if Pretty Ugly Little Liars gets subpoenaed, those email addresses, Casey Erick wants them public. So does Ron Toye. So does Monica Rial. The names of alleged victims. Casey Erick wants them public. So does Ron Toye. So does Monica Rial. The stories, the embarrassing stories that allegedly occurred. Casey Erick wants them public. So does Ron Toye. So does Monica Rial. Thank you for permission, Casey Erick, Ron Toye, and Monica Rial. If we find out, I guess, any other people that decided to make it their personal goal to brigade against cons or signing events or anything like that, like maybe an email address that came out, like maybe an email address that was sent to another signing event, any of those very public email addresses that can be linked directly to your Twitter account, lady, any of those, I guess they want them all public because, you know, it might be nice to have a confidentiality order to assess what should be public first. But if Casey Erick, Ron Toye, and Monica Rial want every single thing public, well, I mean, I guess we have to oblige that, don't we?
Exactly.
Like, what are they thinking about? What are they honestly thinking here? Weren't they at first shrieking that that Ty had asked for the identities of the 100+ women that Ron Toye alleges that Vic Mignogna has assaulted or whatever?
Mm-hmm.
They were freaking out about having to name those women, but they want them not only named in court, they want them named publicly.
Mm-hmm.
Publicly. What's interesting is I'm all prepped to deal with a confidentiality order. I got no problem with that. That's the beauty of how court orders work is everything's public until the court says, actually, no, this stuff is private. And then it's private because it's a court order and violating that is dumb. But these people have flat out said that they want it all public. So, hey, pretty ugly little liars. I know you're watching, even though you're never, ever understanding. But just in case you don't realize what that means, is that if any of your identities are discerned by the court, it might not even be me. It might be Casey leaking them to Shane that makes them public. That would be a real shame. That would be a real shame if like your workplace, like let's say there was someone who emailed a convention or a signing event or something, and it was easy to ascertain where they worked. Like, imagine what happens when that person who goes out and lies about someone to get their job ruined, that person's email and workplace gets exposed to the internet. It's just the weirdest thing on earth that they would ask for this. To me. Okay, so I wanted to cover that because I want to be very clear who has asked for what in this. And they are adamantly fighting to make everything as public as possible.
Mm-hmm. I don't get what they're playing with that because like that could screw them over so hard. These people are stupid.
Well, we've accused them of a lot on this show, and being brilliant was never one of them. Never one of those things. Okay, so Dad comes out. They're arguing about the confidentiality thing. Let's get back to it. What's kind of the next step?
So pretty much, Casey was trying to argue that the voice actors that pertain to this case are public figures. And one thing that pissed me off is that he was pronouncing Vic Mignogna's name completely wrong.
The most public a figure. You can't pronounce his name right.
Exactly. But yeah, so that was pretty much that, like, went on for 10 to 15 minutes. I remember, let's see, they were talking about that. He was talking about how you made things public and all of that. And then the judge was said, do you like Nick's videos? And he said they were entertaining, which I felt was funny.
Was he saying it like as though he were being flogged to death while saying it?
He actually had a little laugh. He had a little smirky laugh to him. He's like, yeah, he's entertaining.
Well, it's Mr. Erick. It is my pleasure to entertain you in your office. Thank you for the beautiful compliment. Mm-hmm. Oh my goodness.
Yep,
I wonder
and
if he watched last night's show.
I still need to watch that.
Oh, yeah. Well, I don't know if he would have said. I don't know. I'm of two minds on it. If he said it was entertaining after watching last night's show, hats off to him, and I buy him a drink any day. Any day. Mm. Oh my goodness. Okay, so so the judge asks, is this show is it good? Basically, is this show
Yeah.
entertaining or is it any good? He says,
Yep.
yeah, it's a little entertaining. So then, what point do they move past this confidentiality issue?
Pretty much when the judge got tired of this bickering and arguing because we were getting literally nowhere.
Right.
It started acting like a TV show at that point, but he pretty much cut straight to the chase and says, like, what can't, like, he turned to Ty's Mr. Bullock. He said, what can the court do for Vic? That's pretty much all he said. And Mr. Bullock replied with, he just wants to try to repair Vic's career, his life, just his pretty much his the way people see him.
Right.
And then he wants to try to have the court repair like the monetary damages that what happened to Vic. And then he asked both of them, what's the end game for both parties? Is it money? Is it pretty much that? And Ty's party, Mr. Bullock, pretty much said he wants people to stop defaming the guy, just stop tortuously interfering with his contracts and all of that. And Mr. Casey replied saying how he doesn't think what Ron is saying are the allegations, keyword allegations.
So he says that they're allegations.
They're allegations that
Okay.
Ron Toye is putting out on Twitter is defamatory.
Oh,
so that's why he keeps on replying on Twitter, which is retarded. So dumb.
Now, did the judge ask Casey about Ron's tweets?
He probably, yes, I believe he did. I don't remember the response though.
I know the response.
Oh man, what was it? I didn't write that down.
If I understand correctly, the judge asked Casey if his client was still tweeting.
Oh yeah. Okay, yeah, I remember that. Okay.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but Casey's response was, I asked him not to. Right?
Yeah.
Or I've asked him to stop, something like that.
Yep.
Yeah. Did you know that Ron Toye went back into protected mode today?
Yeah, I saw that.
Right. Right after the hearing.
Yep.
You know, Casey, get off of Twitter. Oh my God. Get off of Twitter. Oh my goodness.
So at least we know he's going behind his lawyer's back and tweeting.
Well, yeah. I mean, you can only do so much about your client. You can only do so much.
Yep.
Okay, so then so Vic's side says we just want stop defaming our guy, and then please stop messing with his contracts. Did the judge know that this was about tortious interference and stuff like that? Because I have a feeling the way these things tend to play out. This is a pre-trial motion. The judge doesn't even have to think about petitions and answers at this point. He comes in and all he knows is that there's a motion hearing going on for discovery. And so did you get the sense, or did he talk about whether it was about any of the nature of the case?
I don't believe he did.
Okay.
I believe I believe he asked like, what, like pretty much like what's going on.
Right. Yeah. Now, so when Jim talked about the tortious interference and stuff like that, did the tone of the room change at all, or did the judge say anything about it?
Oh no, the tone of the room definitely changed, mostly on Casey's side.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
How can you describe that? I'm trying to figure out what you mean. Like I said, I have another person's opinion on what was going on, but I'm more interested in yours.
Okay. So when the judge was talking mostly about that, I just I don't know the presence because it was pretty much like a just complete quiet. Like they just like letting the judge talk pretty much.
Right. Well, see, that's what happens when Dad comes in, right?
Yeah.
And here's the thing that both of these lawyers knew. Both of these lawyers knew very much that, or both of these teams of lawyers, I should say,
Yep.
knew that going into today's case is the last thing a judge wants to hear. A judge in Texas, discovery is so broad. So you're coming in with like little arguments about discovery. They need to be the most solid arguments you've got and with real like danger to them. Otherwise, the judge is going to be like, what? Like, what are we? Why am I here? Why is my docket being populated by you people who can't figure out discovery?
Yep.
Because it's deposition squabbles. Most attorneys get them worked out, right?
Yep.
And so the judge is going to be coming in pissed.
Yep.
But all right, so so they're just letting the judge talk. I guess kind of walk me through what happens next.
So pretty much he was pretty much asking, has anyone been deposed yet? And this is when Ty went up and spoke. And Shane did get this right. The judge thought that Ty Beard was actually Vic.
Sure.
And I do like, and Ty didn't talk the whole time. I think he was just letting Jim talk, which
Yeah.
I thought was funny, but again, I don't think that was wrong for the judge to think that. So
No, I mean usually you've got in a lot of cases what's going to happen is you're going to have an attorney and a party, or maybe a couple attorneys and the party. And my understanding, you know, if a judge is there and a party's not, or a person's not talking, pretty common to assume that they might be the party.
exactly. So he was pretty much wondering, why hasn't anyone been deposed yet? It's been this long, and they were pretty much then saying about the dates and how he wasn't available all of May and all of that. And the judge pretty much said, well, let's just do it here. And then he asked both parties what county they live in. And he's like, yeah, we're just going to do it here. We can do it in that room, actually. So he asked, when are both clients available? And then Mr. Ty said, my client is available in the second week of July. At that point, I don't know what
Second week of June.
Sorry, no, July.
Oh, he said
Oh,
July.
sorry, June.
Okay.
Sorry, June. I forgot. Sorry, second week of June. So yeah, that's when Mr. Casey. I don't remember what he said, but I think under his breath he said it won't work. But they ended up making an agreement with the judge outside the court after I left. So
Sure.
yeah.
Okay, so you didn't stay through the entire hearing.
No, it actually it ended. And then we were asked to leave, and then they were talking.
Okay.
When I left, yeah.
Gotcha. Did were you there when Ty raised the issue of the TCPA?
Yes. Sorry, I completely forgot to mention that. So
that's why I'm here. That's why I'm the
okay.
professional questioner.
Yes. So a good thing is that during the depositions, Ty was worried that after they deposed Vic first, that they were going to file for the anti-slap motion after, or like 5 minutes after Vic was deposed. The judge said, well, there's not going to be any anti-slap motion during the depositions. So that is confirmed. There's not going to be any anti-slap during the depositions. So if they file it afterwards, they're on even playing ground.
Right. So that's of course, that is of course what this is all about. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what I never want to give credit to Shane and say he's intentionally doing something, because he's so stupid that I have to think that he just doesn't understand that this, of all this deposition stuff, the main goal is one of two things. It's either get both depositions for all parties prior to the TCPA being filed, or the TCPA gets filed before the depositions, whichever, but not to have Vic deposed and then have the TCPA filed and give them this huge window of time to release deposition stuff to try and damage Vic's reputation while not having anything to answer with.
Mm-hmm.
That was the big concern. So you either need to have all the depositions happen prior to any potential TCPA filing, or you need a confidentiality agreement to lock down the information released during Vic's deposition until after the TCPA motion.
Mm-hmm.
And after both parties get deposed. So it's funny because Shane thinks that the confidentiality agreement was like the end goal. And I think it's possible that Ron and Casey really thought that the confidentiality agreement is what they really wanted when they're missing. And you can see that you'd have to watch last night's video to see what I'm talking about. But you can see in Casey's filing that he is consistently missing the point of what's going on. He's arguing against them never taking a deposition rather than not taking a deposition at a particular time, which is relative to this TCPA motion. Yeah. So Shane is out there professing a win because they didn't get the confidentiality agreement. Let me spell this out for you, Shane. No one cares about the confidentiality agreement in and of itself. Only care that Vic doesn't get deposed before Monica and Ron get deposed, or without having Monica and Ron deposed before the TCPA is filed, because that's the discovery stay. Now both parties will get deposed, I think within 5 days. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Within 5 days of each other, all the parties will be deposed. And then if there's a TCPA motion, it would have to come after that, and everything will already be done. If you think that Casey Erick having to go back to Monica and Ron after very likely telling them at the start, we'll depose Vic and you guys won't get deposed because we'll do this TCPA motion. If you think him going back now and says, well, we beat the confidentiality agreement, and they're like, yay, but what? You're getting deposed as well. Oh, and I agreed to it.
Oh, wow.
Because Casey Erick, he agrees to this.
He does agree. He does agree.
That is, I love that Shane is trying to spin this as a win. But who walked out of that courtroom meeting their objective? Maybe Casey did, defeating the confidentiality agreement, I guess. But if you're going, we can talk about this. We can talk about this too. Briefly right now, and I'll go more in depth, but I want to see if there are any questions in the super chats for you specifically while we've got you on here. But briefly, if you look at the chain of events that occurred leading up to this thing, 3 weeks ago, I think it was, over 20 days now, Ty offered to Casey Erick, let's just do all the depositions with a Rule 11 agreement in place that says that you won't file a TCPA until after all the depositions. Imagine 20 days have gone by, thousands and thousands of dollars. He said it in his own motion for attorney's fees that thousands of dollars have been spent fighting this. And what did they walk away with? They walked away with the exact deal that Ty Beard offered to Casey Erick over 3 weeks ago. Mm-hmm. How embarrassing to walk out of this hearing with something you could have had just by saying, yep, and signing a document and ultimately agreeing to it in the courtroom. It's not like the judge, beat down Casey and ordered against him or something like that. You agreed to the thing you could have agreed to, and you spent thousands of dollars of Ron Toye, Monica Rial's money on nothing, and you didn't get them back. You didn't get an attorney's fees motion approved. But keep going, Shane. They won this. They won this hearing. They did great. They got everything they wanted. Everything they wanted, which was incidentally exactly what Ty offered a long time ago. All right, so I have a bunch of early super chats And I want to read through them and see if there are any that are specifically for you while you were there. But before I do that, is there anything else specifically you want to say about the hearing, your impressions of it, your impressions of any of the people involved, the feeling you got? I mean, whatever. Anything come to mind?
No, I honestly, it wasn't as interesting as, well, to me, it wasn't as interesting as people like put it out to be. I know after I was done, listening to the hearing, people were just like, oh, what's the verdict? What's the verdict? What's the details? It honestly wasn't as hyped up as it was. I thought
No,
it was
no,
gonna be, no, but other
no.
than
They're
that, no,
motion
sorry.
hearings. Motion hearings are like suicide, but you don't die from it.
Exactly. Exactly. But no, I hope the depositions are going to be public. It probably won't be, but if so, I would definitely go and listen to that. But no, it was fun listening to everyone kind of talk and know what everyone kind of is in the courtroom.
Well, they're gonna have to be public, aren't they? They want them
Exactly.
to all be public.
Exactly.
So we'll have to see about that. All right, let me hit some of these quick super chats and see if there are any questions specifically for you. And then after we catch up on those, we'll do a final thought thing, and then I'll let you head out, and we'll move into the next segment.
All right.
All right, so Space Animation says, I never catch you actually live because I'm always asleep. Been following the Vic replays, was curious if he'd be interested in VA work for an online animated show, so let me know where I could find out his rates and negotiate. You can send your info to me, Space Animation, or SPVCE Animation, or whatever. Send your info to me, and I will make sure to get it to whoever is involved in that. How's that? Email it to me at rekieta@rekieta.org. You don't have to give me rates or anything like proposed payments. Just get me the information to contact you, and I'll get it to whichever agent deals with this type of stuff. How's that? Blaine20 says, shame, dish-ish, a shame for display of cookery by Ty Beard. Nick agrees with wish me judge cannot stop TCP a motion. No confidential order for you. Okay, that was weird. Blaine20 says, some people think that Funimation and Jamie didn't need to be represented at today's hearing. Thoughts? Oh, one of the people in the room was Funimation's lawyer.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
I know. Yes, I did see the picture of him. Yes, one of them was him, and I don't know who the other person was. People assume it's Jamie's lawyer, but I don't think it was.
I don't know. I do know that Funimation's attorney was in the room.
Yeah.
I guess it could have been Monica's lawyer. They did not need to be represented at the hearing today. The hearing was between Monica or Marky's lawyer. I mean, the hearing was between Monica and Ron and Vic. That's it. So those are the only parties represented on this motion hearing. Nobody else needed to be represented, but you certainly have a chance to see all of the people involved in action, the people you're allied with or aligned with, the people you're opposed to. You get a chance to hear some of their arguments. You get a chance to see what they're talking about. And most importantly, you get a chance to get a feel for the judge. You definitely go watch those hearings as other counsel.
Oh, I have one question from Stacy Delman I have to address.
Yeah.
Chuck Hubert was there. I forgot to mention that. He was actually sitting, I was sitting right next to him. But yeah, I'm guessing that I heard from someone that him and Vic are friends, which I don't know if that's true or not. He might be silently like helping Vic or whatever, but I trust Chuck. I work for Chuck at one of his cons, so I trust
I
Chuck.
think Chuck has shown up on one of Vic's. He does these like little live stream videos on some service that I've never heard of, but where you can pay to watch a live stream or something. And I think Chuck was on it one time playing tennis with him, so I know they're at least friendly.
Yes.
As to whether or not Chuck is like helping out Vic, I mean, who knows on any of that stuff. And if he is or isn't, no one should make any assumptions on that, because you know what people do to Chuck if they think that he's somehow somehow
Yeah.
helping Vic, then that could play negatively for him. So
Exactly.
Forever229 says, bit but my super lawyer. Okay. Forever229 says, Forever229 says, clickbait title, someone call Cody. Just, and Cody, I'll probably have Cody back on sometime in the very near future to talk about some other stuff. But I think Cody got a little bit of a bad rap for being on the show. And just so people are very aware, I have no problem with Cody or anything that he said. I don't agree with a lot of the stuff he said, but I certainly don't have any problem with him coming on and saying it. And so Cody and I are. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. No. With the whole Cody thing, I honestly I agree with him with some of the stuff, but then again, I disagree with a lot of the stuff. So I'm with you on that.
Yeah. So I just wanted to let people know that Cody and I are still friends. I have no problem with him or anything like that. So Dizrhythmia says, throwing a couple of bucks towards your super lawyer fund. Yes, I'll be able to get that super lawyer title before too long. Then I can go screw up filings. Temperis Maximus says, first super chat. Hey, thanks, buddy. Love the content. Keep up the good work. If I run across you at Matsuri, let's share a whiskey. Yeah, do it. Just introduce yourself. Mithrin Emmer says, oh, Captain, my Captain. Now that super lawyer extraordinaire has just totally decimated the Beard and Vic, should we utilize the special cyanide capsules we were issued when we decided to stand with Vic? Immediately, just start chewing right away. Big Chewy Gaming says, hello there, Mr. YouTuber Lawman, from a very tired Scotsman, awake at 5 a.m. watching your stream live for the first time. Have yourself a bottle of Jura on me. Ooh, I will do that. Love your breakdowns of the U.S. legal system. Hey, thanks, buddy. I appreciate that very much. Duncan McBride says, as the clock strikes midnight here on the East Coast, I'll be celebrating my 22nd birthday. Hey, happy birthday, man. Consider this a small gift for the countless hours of quality boomer content you've given me. Here's to even more as I tip my celebratory glass of 77 Grangastone Scotch to you. Hey, thanks, man. I appreciate that. And again, happy birthday. Mithrin Emmer says, additional thoughts? What do Arms Girl and Jesse Pridemore have to do with this? Wink. Thank God. Thank God nothing at present. I hope Arms Girl is enjoying her new video game library. I'm just curious when that lawyer is going to start sending out letters.
Exactly.
Billy the Kid Lawrence says, sorry, last time I post this, I really want to save my mom's life. Please donate to the GoFundMe. Nick retweeted the other day to help her. Won't let me post a link in chat for some reason. That's YouTube. Sorry, man. Tried lots of times. Please. So yeah, you can go to my Twitter. I'll see if I can retweet it again. But yeah, go check out the GoFundMe, and if you feel moved to it, go ahead and donate to there. Let's see. Dark Eternal 6 says, Ron Soye smiley faces. Casey Erick, get off of Twitter. Patrick Thompson says, Shane, aha, Nick, now the shoe is on the other foot. Get him, Nick. Enlighten these idiots. Diablo says, a glass of whiskey and toast of our victory. Cheers all. And AK Arbiter says, curious at the reaction where their Tumblr blog of evidence is brought up, where the admin admits it's all hearsay and was started for their entertainment. Did they bring up any of that evidence at all?
Unfortunately, no. I was waiting for that. They did not bring that up. It was strictly just a hearing about what they were there for.
Right. And that's what I was kind of talking about earlier with how these things go. When Dad walks in the room and starts talking, it doesn't really matter what you prepared for and what you did. Oh, we're like at probably around peak viewing right now. Let me be clear. Casey Erick had a huge win today. Like, I'm downplaying it. I've been downplaying it the whole time. Casey Erick had a huge win today, and I'm going to discuss that in just a minute. The biggest possible win that Casey Erick could have had, he did have today. And interestingly, it's not really a loss for Vic at all, but it's a huge win for Casey. So we're going to talk about that in just a minute. There's just a couple more chats that we want to do here. Ismail Bolden says, hey, Nick, I'm not sure if you got my message on Twitter, but I was wondering if you could interview Andrew Yang on one of your streams. He's running for president and he's offering to give all Americans $1,000 a month. Hashtag Yang Gang. I mean, I would love to interview presidential candidates on my channel. I don't know that they'd come on, but if there's a line to Andrew Yang to talk to me about why he thinks giving all Americans $1,000 a month is a great idea, I'm all for it. I'm all for talking to him. I love that everybody sends him money requests on Facebook or whatever for $1,000 every month. That's funny to me. Chris Carley says, I see wanting everything to be public if you're working towards your clients not being deposed, but after being told everything will be public and both sides will get deposed, would Casey still want everything to be public? He has to kind of stick with it now.
Mm-hmm. I don't know why he decided to say yes on that. That's so dumb.
Yeah, it's a weird play. It's a really weird play. Confidentiality orders are in stuff like this are pretty standard, and it's just all it does is it gives the parties an opportunity prior to the release of information to try and come to an agreement over whether or not it should be released. And if they have a dispute, then they can go to the judge with it. That's all a confidentiality order does. It doesn't actually give you full like a guarantee. And so they're often put in place where there's defamatory statements or private information or business information that's likely to come out. So, you know, there we go. And finally, Dark Eternal 6 says, hashtag Yang Gang is a dead meme. Figits. I don't know what figits is, but it doesn't sound pleasant. Oh, and Cuddle Thought says, I'm part of the Yin Gang. His promise is to remind Americans that the $1,000 you get was already your money to begin with. Well, I mean, it might have been. It might have been. Well, I don't want to debate Andrew Yang when he's not here. But no, I'd love to talk to him. If anybody has some sort of in, let's do it. All right, buddy. Chris, back to you. Final sort of thoughts on this hearing. Anything else you want to impress upon people, and then we'll bid you adieu, and then I'll rant on.
No, I just thought it was just very interesting just to see how both the parties kind of reacted to each other. I kind of got that whole kind of that fight vibe to it. It was pretty cool to see that kind of live instead of on paper.
Yeah.
But yeah.
That's kind of an interesting thing about these is, you know, a lot of times you go into a hearing and you either haven't really interacted with the other attorney too much, or you haven't interacted with them in an unfriendly way.
Mm-hmm.
And so to just randomly have to come in to it where the other guy's basically accusing you of being an asshole and you're accusing him of being an asshole. Mm-hmm. That's the magic.
But other than that, I would love to go to more hearings or courts or whatever just to see what's up, and I would happy to give y'all the info that y'all need. It's good.
Yeah, man, I really appreciate it. Thanks for going there and taking notes. I love getting your perspective on it, and because you know the lawyer perspective on it is very different than you, because we're looking for different things to happen in the hearing, whereas you're kind of going in there. I mean, maybe you have some expectations, but I think largely blind to the stuff that we're looking for. Mm-hmm. So you're going to see a bunch of stuff that we're going to miss. Mm-hmm. And I think that's really cool, man. So thanks for doing that. And if you go to any of the future ones, of course, you'll be welcome back to come report on them and let us know what's going on.
Yes, man. I would love to. It was great coming on here.
All right, man. Well, thanks a bunch. Guys, this has been Chris. Chris is you're in my Discord, of course.
Yes, yes. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, my name is Taz on Discord. If you guys want to follow me on Twitter, it's Taz Animu. Just kind of self-shilling myself.
Yeah, no, I was about to say, do you want to tell people where to find you, or if they have any questions, you know, how they can reach out to you? So yeah. Taz Animu on Twitter.
Yes. I know a lot of people on Senpai's home Discord wants me to shout them out. I don't know if I'm allowed to, but it's just their names. I'm not going to give anything.
Go ahead.
All right. So I know Mr. Dickard wants me to say his name, and Yuna and Chi Chi and all of them. So Cheshire, just I love you guys. I guess I don't know what to say.
All right,
uh,
man.
yeah.
Well, thanks for coming on tonight. I will. We'll talk on Discord, of course. Again, I really appreciate it. I'm jealous. Wish I could go.
Yeah, I wish
could
you were
go.
there too. That would have been lit.
Well, maybe if they would have just delayed it for a couple days, I could have been there. But no.
No.
All right, man. Well, you have a good night. I'll talk to you later.
Yep, you too. Or see you, dude.
Yeah. Peace.
Peace.
Okay. All right. That was Chris. Great guy. Was also at KamehaCon. Got to meet Vic and Ty there. So you know he's kind of been through this thing for a little while. What do we got? Oh, there's a couple more chats that came in. Let me hit those. Lawrence White is like a guy, dancing. I don't know how to do that one. Inkpenification says, "Hey Nick, when you have some time, I would like to have a discussion with you on the disaster known as Justin Trudeau. Heck, apparently things are so bad that crimes like shoplifting and thefts are dropped. Not an attorney, FYI." Well, yeah, I don't know anything about Canada other than that it's that way. So it's I'm not opposed to learning more. Anthony English says, "Australian legal studies grad just enjoying the education of the U.S. legal system. Highly recommend getting a bottle of Glenmorangie or whatever. Quinta Rubin. Ooh, single malt scotch with a port finish." Yeah, I'd look at that. I'm not a big fan of the Glenmorangie 10. My grandpa was a big fan of it, but I have never been. But the Quinta Rubin, I would definitely give that a shot. Okay. Let me talk about the big win of Casey Erick, okay? And this is mildly clickbaity. I'm gonna warn you, but there is a huge win. If you watched my stream last night, we went through the filing documents, the response to motion and motion for attorney's fees and sanctions. That document was an abject failure of law. It was an absolute catastrophic filing. All of the citations are bad. I didn't go into I didn't even go into a lot of the cases and just how off point they are. For example, many of the cases he cites later in the document, he's citing something called dicta from the case. Dicta is the expository comments made by the judge outside of the ruling, right? The ruling of the case is what matters. The dicta are like the judge's thoughts that help get to the ruling, but those are not, dicta is not authoritative. It might be informative, but it's not authoritative. It's not backed up by other authority or precedent. It doesn't have like the full legal reasoning. It's kind of just the judge's, it's the stuff in the middle. It's the stuff that fills out the book, right? If you've got a 70-page opinion, you probably, not all 70 of those pages matter. A good chunk of it is just filler and words that get to it, get you to the points that do matter. He's citing dicta in a lot of cases. I didn't go through that because it's kind of hard to explain, and each one would have taken a long time. I did go through one of the cases where he was talking about protection from depositions, right? We kind of read through that case. It was a collection case, a judgment collection for bankruptcy, and like ignoring the fact that case didn't really say what they needed it to say anyway. It's also a very special part of law. Like those lines of cases aren't related to defamation in any way, and you're talking about specific types of discovery that are happening for a specific purpose that are unrelated to this case at all. In this particular instance, it's post-judgment discovery trying to find assets when someone is hiding millions of dollars from the court, right? We're not talking about depositions on just general normal discovery depositions, finding out what a person said or what a person saw. We're talking about this person is trying to hide assets from the court. The court is trying to find them. Post-judgment discovery is in many ways more broad than regular discovery. Here's the big win of Casey Erick. He didn't have to defend any of that, okay? He didn't have to stand there and explain why his filing looked the way it did, because the judge didn't go into the filing, right? The judge looks at the motion and the response and goes, "Oh God, they're fighting over discovery in a defamation case. Please, somebody off me now." That's what the judge is thinking. Now, Casey has to go in prepared to defend that big pile of trash motion response. Ty's team has to prepare to absolutely annihilate that motion response. If you think I raked Casey over the coals at all last night with my explanation of what was going on, I did that with very little time and research put into it, right? I was on vacation. I had some assistance with some notes on the case and some direction on where to look on some of the cases. And, you know, a lot of it is just me picking apart things. I was reading it and realizing things that I had missed in my initial read and stuff like that. Ty's team would have gone through that thing with a fine-tooth comb and been prepared to rip apart all of the arguments. And when I say that all of the citations are bad, I'm pretty sure actually all of them were wrong. He might have gotten one or two right, might have. But if he would have had to defend that, against competent counsel, oh my God, it would have been a disaster for him. So not having to deal with any of that is actually a huge win. And I can't say this enough, because had he had to fight it, it would have been a devastating loss. There's no way you can argue what he wrote was good. You can't do it. It was a misstep, and he dodged a bullet train. Not just a bullet, a whole bullet train coming directly at him. That's a good thing. That's a good thing for his clients. It's a good thing for him. And it might have been smart of the judge. I don't know how much review the judge did of that, but it might have been smart of the judge to kind of sidestep that. I don't know if the judge did it consciously, or I'm not saying they did, but if the judge sidesteps that and says, you know what, if we start getting into the nitty-gritty of this thing, it's going to get way off the rails, and I'm going to have to do stuff. Here's the interesting thing about today. They walk out of there. There's no order, right? There's just an agreement between the parties. The judge mediated an agreement in real time between the parties to go ahead and do this, gave them a venue to do it. And then it's now set. Something like the second half of June is when these all take place. And the depositions will likely take place within about 5 days of each other. They just have to get it all scheduled. As soon as I know, I will do it. I'll let you know. Oh my goodness. All right. So what else about the deposition? What mattered? Let me give you a different impression than what Chris gave us. What are you looking for as a lawyer coming out of this deposition hearing, or this motion hearing? Again, assess what you're after and what the opposing party is after. I think that Casey Erick had a real problem going into this motion hearing, because what he was after was foiled a long time ago, right? Casey was after deposing Vic yesterday. That's what he wanted. I want to depose Vic on the 30th, and then I want to file the TCPA. That was tossed the minute they got this hearing, right? Because in theory, the judge could have ordered that Ty was obstructing the depositions and breaking the rules of discovery, and he could have sanctioned Ty, but he could never give back yesterday. Couldn't do it. And Casey would have to explain that he was trying to get deposition and then file the TCPA. And I tell you what, judges were lawyers and don't like that. They don't like it. So if you can't give back if you can't get what you've already lost, and you know Casey cannot go in there and say, actually, Judge, I want to depose him and file the TCPA. What are you going in there to do? What are you going in there to do? So his method had to be to go in to fight the confidentiality agreement. And he had to fight it on a weird turf because you have to intentionally misread the intention of the confidentiality agreement to say they want everything confidential, as opposed to saying they want things equal. They don't want to have an advantage going into a stay of discovery. That's it. That was the whole purpose of all of this. You won't depose my clients first. And again, this is blatantly apparent because Casey's whole argument is, I said I'd go first. I want to go first. So you have to assess where each party is. Ty, Jim, and Carrie have a clear objective. Either a confidentiality order that will get us through the TCPA motion. So if TCPA fails, then the depositions become public or whatever. That's goal 1. Goal 2, and probably the better goal, is get everybody deposed prior to the TCPA filing, and then everything's still public, and then everything is still on the table. Well, if those are your two objectives, and Casey's objective is to defeat the confidentiality order because he literally can't do his other objective of deposing Vic yesterday, then you win. I guess they get to depose Vic first. I don't know if that's part of the agreement, but let's say it is. Okay, what advantage does that get you? That doesn't get you much of any advantage because Vic in deposition, they're going to sit there and ask him stuff. I guess the advantage is that if he were to depose Monica and Ron first, he could ask them to put up what they know, and then theoretically they could prep Vic to answer questions and kind of tailor them towards what questions came out. But they're still having to fish on Monica and Ron. It's not the biggest advantage. But even if they give up that, the only reason to not have Vic go first was the TCPA. If you remember the early chain of emails, Ty seemed quite content to have Vic go first so long as Monica and Ron were deposed very quickly thereafter. So again, who's walking out of this hearing with their objectives met? I know Ty, Jim, and Carrie are walking out with objective met. I don't know if Casey could have done it. That changes things going into the hearing. That's going to make it a problem. Casey has to be whiny and pissy because it's all he's got. It's all he's got in his tank. He's not, what am I fighting for? Why are we here? Why are we here? Okay, so just saying, there are 3 chats, and then we'll get back to it. Nick Thorne says, just dropping the usual. Enjoy a drink for me. I can't drink yet. Gotta find a good DD first. Can't ask family because they're religious and will say no. No problem with that, of course, but I want to know what kind of drunk I am. You know what? I have a problem with that. If your family's opposed, if they're religious and opposed to drinking, well, shouldn't they want you to be safe? Shouldn't they want you to be safe? Ooh. This is Kalevala Navy Strength Finnish Gin. That'll be good. That's not dangerous at all. So. Oh no. All right. Here's the next thing about this. Oh wait, Escher Schill says depositions public, as in can we go watch them? No, you cannot be in the deposition room. Likely, and they don't just let anybody in. Surely not. You had me excited there for a minute. I'm definitely going to the trial. It's too fascinating. The depositions are not going to be open to the public in that way, but they're not private or confidential. Again, Monica and Ron made that very, very clear. They don't want confidentiality of anything. So, whatever they say at deposition, I guess will be open to everybody. All right. So, next thing you want to find out at these hearings, you want to get a pulse check on your judge. What are they like? Judge comes in as dad, right? Kids are fighting over something stupid. Judge comes. What's he want to do? Does he want to talk about the case citations you made? Does he want to talk about sanctions and attorney's fees? No. How do we fix this? Right? Chris said, and I can back up, they come in, there's some arguing back and forth over the confidentiality and all that stuff. And the judge actually cuts to the chase here. What do you want the court to do about this, about the whole situation? Not just this discovery stuff, right? Okay, we're arguing over discovery stuff. What do you want the court to do here? What do the parties want out of this? Vic, stop defaming me. Stop interfering with my contracts. Monica and Ron, we want to keep going on Twitter and talking about him because it's not defamatory. Okay. Now, does that play in Tarrant County, Texas? That's actually not a terrible thing. It all depends on how you frame it. But my understanding is that the judge basically said that the confidentiality order is a prior restraint, right? That's a dog whistle to, that's a problem with the First Amendment. That's a problem with the First Amendment. Why are we restraining these people's speech? And so if you have a prior restraint, there you have to have a compelling government interest in protecting something. And then you have to have a solution that's narrowly tailored to achieve that purpose. So for a prior restraint on speech, you have to have a reason to stop the speech. This is defamatory. This is injuring a man's reputation, that type of thing. And then you have to have a solution that is narrowly tailored for that. A confidentiality order that covers everything might not be narrowly tailored. So the judge has to be very careful in issuing that order because it could get overturned on free speech grounds on appeal. Does a judge want to do that? No, they don't like being appealed. So, judge asks, this is a prior restraint, isn't it? So they're still arguing over this. But then what's he do? Again, cuts to the chase. What do you want us to do? And that prior restraint is there, but at the same time, you got to ask, the judge has to ask, wait, so his objective is just to work, and your objective is to keep talking about him in a negative way just because you don't think it's negative. And at some level, that's not the best answer to have. What is the court going for here? Why is the court involved? The court's involved because you're saying stuff that mess with his business. And not only that, bringing up the tortious interference. Suddenly, this is not two celebrities having an internet slap fight. Right? Because that's kind of what it sounds like going in. This is defamation. These people are public figures, according to this one lawyer. They're fighting on the internet. Why are we here about this? Suddenly, though, actually, they're also calling up conventions. And when they make those phone calls to conventions, they're getting him uninvited from them and impacting his work. Oh, tell me more. Right? So this is an important part of the hearing. The judge knows probably nothing about this case going into the hearing. Now the judge knows there are some level of celebrity in Fort Worth Not a lot of celebrities running through Fort Worth courthouses. There's some level of celebrity having an online fight that involves apparently a YouTube channel that the counsel for the defendants finds entertaining. That was a weird thing to say. Thank you. I appreciate it, Casey, but I would have definitely not admitted to being entertained if it were me. But I appreciate your candor and honesty, sir. There's this weird YouTube lawyer thing that's so involved that they have to talk about it. There are people talking about this thing. Now, what does a judge want, right? What do you guys want? The judge is still a person, and the judge is not dealing with celebrity cases. This judge was, do you want to know more? I do. I do want to know more. Absolutely. I want to hear about this. You think the judge will watch one of these streams? Maybe a couple. It might depend, or at least snippets, or at least have his clerk find out if there's something to do. Very interesting, because now the judge is going to have to look at this as something different. Sets it aside from all the other defamation cases. Now the judge is going to start looking into what's going on. Here's another thing that happened in court that Christian probably didn't see. Okay. Both parties were able to give a binder of information to the judge with their briefs on all of the stuff, any of the cases that they'd printed out, all of that stuff got handed to the judge. So that means that Casey and his staff handed over a binder full of whatever their notes on all the cases were, along with their response to the motion, any of the filed paperwork that got handed to the judge. So did Beard, Harris, Bullock, and Hughes. Let me suggest that whoever preps documents at Beard, Harris, Bullock, and Hughes, and they know who they are, does a ridiculously thorough job. And when I say all of those citations were bad, I'm gonna bet that there's at least a case brief on every single one of those citations showing why they're all wrong. And so if the judge goes and looks at these two binders and flips through them, they're going to notice something. And they might actually do that now because they're going to be curious about what's going on here. The judge had to look at a stack of 400 defamatory tweets. Now, did he get them in his hands and look at them? No, but saw him there. He's going to see him in the answer. This stuff plays in. What are you getting out of this hearing? What is the judge doing here? How is the human... I've said for a long time, from the beginning of this case, the human factor will play... It plays a portion in every court case. The amount of factor that it plays, that's the difference. The human factor on a judge changes dramatically when you get them personally interested in the case. This went from a mundane fight between online celebrities into something a little bit more intriguing, into civil conspiracy. All of the drama is there, all right? And now the judge is made more aware of it than he already was. In my opinion, that plays in Vic's favor, especially when they find out that when the judge looks up where all of the online stuff is going on, and he looks and he sees Ron Toye has been tweeting. And by the way, the judge definitely asked Casey, wait, is your client still tweeting? And Casey said, I asked him not to. The judge is going to look, and then he's going to look to Vic, and he's going to see Vic has not talked about any of this. Vic hasn't talked about any of this at all. He's never said a bad word about Monica, about Jamie Markey, about Funimation. Hasn't said a bad word about Ron Toye. None of that. Nothing. All of it has come basically from me, from other YouTubers, from Vic's fans. But we're not on trial. Monica and Ron are, and they have been defaming Vic on Twitter. Vic hasn't been defaming anybody. So when a judge starts digging into this, he's going to say, wait, I was under the impression this was a fight. But this isn't a fight, is it? This is one side lambasting a guy and another side just trying to work. All of his, what are his tweets about? Conventions, appearances, thank yous. What are his tweets not about? The other parties. That's a bad look for them. And that human factor is going to play well here. Doesn't always play well, right? But for them, currently, I think it's in Vic's favor. And Judge, just in case you or your clerk are watching, I am not, nor have I ever been, Vic Mignogna's attorney. I'll state it over and over. I am not, nor have I ever been Vic Mignogna's attorney. The only legal advice or anything approaching it I ever gave Vic Mignogna is, you should talk to a different attorney about this. I know a guy. If you're interested, I could give you his phone number. That's it. That's it. Because I'm not Vic's attorney. I'm not licensed to practice in Texas. I've been very clear in all of my communication with Vic that I cannot give him legal advice, and nothing I say is legal advice, and he should have no expectation as to whether or not I am giving him legal advice. So, no matter how much the other side might screech about me being his attorney or an agent, never ever have I held myself out as representing Vic. I've held myself out as exactly the opposite, and I will maintain doing so. Because I'm not Vic's attorney, nor his agent, nor am I acting on his behalf. Let me be very clear. Vic has no control over my show. Vic has no control over me. Vic has no influence over my show or over me. Vic has nothing to do with this. I get to do whatever I want because I run my show and no one else does. And it's great. And if you want evidence of how someone who tries to run my show gets treated, go watch the interview with Ethan Van Sciver and Jason Youngbluth. And you'll see exactly how Jason Youngbluth got treated when he tried to take control over my show. So it's great to be me sometimes. And independence has always been something I have valued heavily. Don't work well with others. Dick Finger says, stop pretending you like gin. You know you're cheating, Nick. Your one true love is whiskey, and you're lying to yourself, and it's only going to hurt you. You're neither a sailor nor a bundle of sticks. Whiskey is my favorite, but I'll take gin as well. As long as it's good. As long as it's good. Okay. So, recap on what you're looking for. You're looking for what the goals of each party are, what the takeaway of each party is. You're looking for what the judge, what impact is this hearing having on the judge? Right? That's very important. And then the other thing I guess you're looking for are the lies of Shane. Like saying Ty and company were late to the hearing. No, absolutely not. Plus, judges are often late to hearings. And if you've got, even if you are like a couple minutes late to a hearing or your client's a couple minutes late to a hearing, typically the judge is fine waiting a few minutes in chambers, reviewing the documents that they have. It becomes egregious when parties are several minutes late or the docket is stacked or something like that. No, but in this case, again, this is a weird thing that Shane does. Shane consistently undermines his own credibility by, first, he's releasing information about the hearing. Fine. Probably got it from Ron, again, who wasn't there. So Ron got it from Casey. So now we've got a lawyer talking to an idiot, talking to a shoe-eating, mouth-breathing moron. Okay, so Shane's relaying some information. But then he goes ahead and lies about something in the middle of it. It doesn't make any sense to me. Because Shane shoots his own credibility in the foot over and over. And maybe he's just hunting. I don't know. But he does it. And so that's weird. So you just get to look for the lies of Shane. But let's see. What else about that hearing? I'm trying to figure out if there's anything else I want to specifically address about that hearing, because after that, I want to move on to Jamie Markey's documents, and I don't want to leave out anything before we move on. So, oh yes, it's important again to realize that there is no order given in this case. That leaves a couple possibilities that are very, very interesting, actually. So since the judge did not order, there's no written order here, right? He did not order depositions to be done in this way. He gave them options to agree. Very crafty of the judge, in my opinion. It's hard to appeal that. It's hard to ask for a writ of mandamus on this and say, look, the judge said we have to depose and can't file a TCPA. Well, did he? Did he actually say that? No. Oh, let me tell you how that went down. Let me tell you how that went down from a little bit different perspective, okay? Because Chris touched on it a bit. But here you go. Jim Bullock is presenting the case. They're talking about confidentiality and stuff like that. And Ty eventually steps in. And Ty says, Your Honor. And the judge says, oh, I'm sorry, are you an attorney? Thought you were the plaintiff. He says, no, I'm an attorney. I'm the senior partner, so maybe, or thought you were the client. He says, no, I'm senior partner, so maybe I am the client. I don't know, but no, I'm senior partner of the law firm. So, and the judge, you know, they have their little back and forth. That's fine. Here's what happens next, though. Your Honor, what we're concerned about is that the opposing party will depose my client and then immediately file a TCPA anti-SLAPP motion and stay discovery. And the judge looks over at Casey and says, this is important, guys. The judge says, you're not going to do that, are you? Or that's not going to happen, is it? Something like that. And Casey has to say, no, we're not going to do that. Right? That's like, again, it's like kids. It's like kids. You got two kids. One of them is there and says, and it's like threatening to break the other one's iPad, right? He's going to break my iPad if I don't give him a toy or something. And dad comes and says, you're not going to break his iPad, are you? No. That's not a good thing. So now, rather than the judge ordering that depositions will happen without a TCPA, the parties have stated on the record in court that depositions will occur without a TCPA. That's not a binding order from a judge. It's not a Rule 11 agreement. But now Casey's got a Sophie's choice here. Technically speaking, Casey very likely could depose Vic and file a TCPA the next day or that day. Nothing stopping him from doing it. There's not an order. There's not a binding Rule 11 agreement. There's just his words as a lawyer and as a man on the record in court. And if he violates them, though it may be within his and his client's right to do so, he then has to explain to a judge why he lied on the record. That's almost worse than an order in this case. How do you appeal it? How do you appeal that? How do you appeal a non-order? You appeal it and say, well, I agreed to it, but I didn't mean it? That's not going to go well on appeal. So it's a weird thing. His other option, of course, is he has to comply. Or he could try to appeal. He could try to appeal it. I mean, they could file. That would be a huge waste of money. be a huge waste of money. It'd be a big risk because that would be a frivolous writ of mandamus because there's no order that there's no order on a hearing that they're actually appealing up. There's no decision by a judge. This is an agreement, or this is on the record statements in open court. So it's a gamble. He could do it. It depends on how arrogant or ignorant that he is. One of those two. To me, if a judge has you enter into some sort of agreement on the record, you better follow it because you've got a whole other case to think about. And that would really piss off a judge, in my opinion. So, yeah. Could Ty set up an agreement enforcing the no TCPA? Yeah, he could, but why would you? You already have it on the record. Now, if he were to do that, it would also probably flutter out and fail because, they could call for an emergency hearing. They could challenge the TCPA right away, and they could probably get an emergency protective order put in place because of what happened, right? And then they're running into all sorts of other problems. Plus, they might win attorney's fees on that as well, and potentially sanctions. So the judge put Casey Erick in a very interesting place. And again, all Ty is giving up, all Vic is giving up, is a confidentiality order. So what? They want it public? Okay. Make it public. Again, it's going back to the intent of the confidentiality order. The intent of the confidentiality order is merely to protect Vic between the two depositions. That's it. So, I want to point that out. Oh, and let's see. Godiva 7721 says, the relative youth of the judge bodes well. He may have more of an inkling about the interwebs than a boomer. Yep. That is actually an astute notice that he may be a little more privy to what goes on the internet and how this stuff works out. So that could bode well for Vic, actually. Maybe he watched anime. Someone says Ruth Bader Ginsburg is dead. I don't believe you. I don't believe you. Pages says no. Wait a minute. I can't keep answering these questions from the chat, so this is the last one I'm going to answer. That's the gin catching my eye. In Texas, if you agree to something in open court, doesn't it become a de facto Rule 11 agreement? No. The Rule 11 agreement is signed in writing and filed with papers. Period. That's the rule. So no, it's not a de facto Rule 11 agreement. But agreeing to something in open court, it puts your word and your credibility on the line, and you might have to explain why you misled the court. Let me give you a pro tip. Never mislead the court. Never do it. All right. Let's see what else there was. I think that's the main takeaways from the motion, or the motion hearing today. There is no order. Doesn't need one. Oh. Let me talk about why the confidential, or why the motions will take place, or the depositions will take place at the courthouse. Because that's a little weird, right? The judge says, have the depositions here. Okay? Why would a judge say have the depositions here? Well, I'll tell you in case you don't know. One party is concerned, allegedly, with confidentiality. So the judge says, okay, have the depositions here. That way, you're in the courthouse. If there's a concern over confidentiality, we can actually rule on it on the fly. We can rule on it here. So, at this point, Beard, Harris, Bullock, and Hughes says, you know what, Your Honor, if there's no TCPA, then, there's no reason, and no TCPA and no confidentiality agreement. We actually don't have to have them here. We're just really concerned about the TCPA. Judge says, no, go ahead and have them here. All right. Well, now all the depositions are there in Tarrant County. They're all at the courthouse. They will have a judge available to rule on any objections, potentially, if they need to. Or they would have the judge to rule on confidentiality on the fly if something did come out. So it's kind of weird because, again, they're kind of getting what they wanted anyway. They don't have a confidentiality order, but if something came out of those depositions that they really needed to protect for some good cause purpose, they would have a judge to rule on it on the day of the deposition without any agreement needing to be in place and without any opportunity for the opposing party to pre-leak it. That's another win in a weird way, even though the confidentiality agreement isn't that big of a deal in the scheme of things, so long as things are equal between the parties and there's no TPA stay, or TCPA stay, you've now got a judge who can issue rulings on the confidentiality and knows that there may be a question of confidentiality that would be brought up. So there you go. Another crushing defeat for Ty Beard. So, very, very interesting. Very interesting stuff. Let me read this one from Charles. Nick, I'm super excited for tomorrow's stream. Don't forget to talk about how laughably dumb Landwy is. Also, today is my birthday, so can I get a shout out from the #1 late night host? Of course. Happy birthday, Charles. I hope it's been great. I hope your birthday continues on into whatever, however long you want it to go. And keep getting older. Don't die. There you go. Happy birthday, buddy. Wait, Anime News Network is trying to act tough on Twitter. Let's see. Oh. Anime News Network talking smack on Hero, hey. We'll have to go and laugh at them there. Did he delete that video? Why did he delete it? I don't know if that's true, but anyway. That'll be funny. He should re-upload it. He should upload it on a different channel or something. Get that channel struck and combat it again. Make him sue him. Because they're basically saying they're gonna sue him. That's what they would have to do. What dumb idiots. All right. Let me switch this up. You're not gonna see me for just a second. Here we go. Here we go. Well, this is awkward, isn't it? Bring up that. There I am. Whoop. Yep. Here we go. Now we need the there. That's what we're looking for. Okay. Now I've got I've got, you know what I'm snacking on? I'm snacking on cured meats. I had an early dinner. I had dinner today, but it was early, so now I'm hungry. Okay, let me Jamie Markey's documents. Right? Was there anything I needed to show? Not really. Let me pull up Markey's documents. 1 second here. Got them somewhere. Okay. That's lovely. Let's just do it this way, shall we? Shall we? All right. So Jamie Markey is represented by counsel. You know what? I said this on Twitter, but let me say it again. Jamie Markey's lawyer went to a bottom tier law school. Jamie Markey's lawyer is works out of a strip mall. On the strip mall across the, there's several shopping centers in an area. The strip mall across from his is an eyelash extension place. Now, does this mean a single thing about Jamie Markey's attorney? No, not a thing at all. It doesn't mean anything. In fact, I can't express how little either of those two things mean. Oh, he's been practicing about 9 years. But I find it hilarious that after sitting and criticizing me as a strip mall lawyer who went to a bottom tier law school, that's who Jamie Markey hires, right? Right? I'm just a strip mall attorney. Oh, and by the way, if you Google him, you'll find out that he receives mail at a UPS box, basically a PO box, which is another criticism that they levied against me, because apparently they've never met lawyers who receive mail at a PO box. Okay, I mean, I guess there are several around here that do, because they work out of their homes like I do. But whatever. So I just found that funny. It doesn't mean anything about this lawyer at all. I'm told by people in the area that the school that he goes to, or that he went to, it's a bottom tier law school, just like mine. A very, very low tier law school. But here's the thing. In Minnesota, firms know that my law school produces quality candidates. That's it. Now, are you getting hired from my law school into the big, like, downtown Minneapolis law firms? I mean, if you're top couple percent of your class, maybe. But otherwise, who cares? There's no reason to go to a Harvard or a Yale or a top 20 law school if you're planning on working in the middle of rural Minnesota, or, as it were, in Plano, Texas, right? She went and hired someone who's very likely competent, and I'll talk about it because his answer is relatively, is relatively competent. Except for one very, very weird thing, and it's not incompetent, it's awkward. I'm going to talk about that in a second. See what we got. All my windows got disorganized. 1 second. So bad at this. But I am not besmirching the good name of what's his name here? Samuel Johnson. I'm not at all. Not at all. And he is a partner at this firm, Johnson and Sparks. I have no problems with him. I have no negative impressions of him. I don't want to say anything bad about him. I will say that his this answer is far more competent looking than Casey's answer was. If I were the client, I would much prefer this answer to Casey's answer. I take it 10 days out of 10. So I don't want to, like, when I bring up these things like the law school that he went to, and I bring up the fact that his office is in a shopping center, they're not negative things because they don't matter at all. And anyone who thinks they do, you're looking to get absolutely fisted in court by some like strip mall attorney that you underestimated or whatever. There's a very interesting post on Kiwi Farms where they suggest that maybe Casey completely underestimated Ty Beard. Very possible. Very possible. And that type of stuff happens all the time. You know, you got to get yours before I get mine or whatever. So that's a whole thing that people need to stop doing, because it doesn't matter if it's a first-year attorney or a 30-year veteran. And let me briefly tell you about that. The first case I ever took, which I took pro bono, the first case I ever took pro bono was against a 30-year attorney. And I absolutely stomped her into the dirt. That's just how it went. Not because I'm special. The facts were on my side. My client wasn't a complete moron, and their client kind of was. And the 30-year attorney wasn't familiar with some new rules, made several bad mistakes, and said stuff like Casey said in his response, right? Where experienced attorneys practice this way. Well, but is that the rule, and does that matter? Does the judge care how experienced attorneys practice, or does the judge care about the rules? I'll give you two choices to figure that one out, but the answer is the rules. Obviously, the judge cares about the rules, because if they rule on how an experienced attorney acts and it goes against the rules, well, then that gets appealed and they lose. So, don't, it's if you notice, I try to be very cautious in how I address other attorneys until they give me a reason to think that they're an idiot. This guy I don't think is an idiot. Okay. Let's see. Jamie Rock says, "Hi, Nick. I play a sorcerer in D&D who used to be a lawyer in their backstory. I think my fictional love for the law has drawn me to your stream. You're a real-life lawyer with a 20 in charisma." Oh, hey, thank you. Very nice. Austin Heartless said, "If you ever find yourself in Lapeer County, Michigan, make a trip to Country Smokehouse in Almond. They make amazing smoked meat and snack sticks made from elk, venison, and buffalo. I like the Spike Man says, Vic stands are gone, lol, what all the gamer girl pee dry up." Okay. All right. So here, let's read through this document. There's something very interesting here. Defendant Jamie Markey's original answer. To the honorable court, the judge of said court, comes now Jamie Markey, defendant. Defendant in the above styled and numbered cause and file. Defendant in the above style. Comes now defendant in the above styled and numbered cause and files this original answer, and we respectfully show the court the following. General denial. This is probably what Casey's section. Notice what's missing. There's no giant fact section with a bunch of defamatory comments written by two monstrous idiots and that basically forced their lawyer to put it in. That section is shockingly absent from this document, which is telling. Telling in a couple ways. We'll talk about those. Defendant generally denies each and every, all in singular, the material allegations contained in the plaintiff's original petition and any amendments or supplements thereto, and being allegations of fact, demands that the plaintiff be required to prove such allegations by the requisite standard of proof if the plaintiff can do so. Perfect. Perfectly executed. Nothing wrong with that paragraph, that sentence. It is sufficient in Texas for a defendant to file that alone. Now, you file your affirmative defenses along with it, because if you don't file your affirmative defenses, you might lose the opportunity to levy them later. So, affirmative defenses. Strictly in the alternative and by way of affirmative defense. So, again, general denial of everything, plaintiff has to prove it. True. True. Plaintiff has the burden of proof initially in defamation cases, and certainly the burden in TI and other stuff, and civil conspiracy. The defamation, of course, the burden will shift to the plaintiff or to the defendant when they assert their affirmative defense of truth or something else that they'd have to When they make an affirmative defense, that's when the burden shifts to them, once those defenses kick in. But their general denial is their initial denial. So in the alternative and by way of affirmative defense, so this is if that other part fails. Defendant asserts a qualified privilege to any alleged statement made the basis of the plaintiff's claims. This is important for tortious interference and for defamation, including, but not limited to, the fact that any matters allegedly addressed were of public and or private importance, were made in good faith without malice, on a subject in which the defendant and any recipients had an interest or duty. Tortious interference. The biggest defense to tortious interference in Texas is not truth, but privilege. So you can't call someone and tell their employer that they're a steaming sack of trash and they should be fired. However, if their employer calls you and says, hey, I need you, because I trust you or whatever, because you have experience with them, I need you to tell me about this person. What can you tell me? And you say, well, they're a steaming heap of trash and you should fire them. That's different. That's an invited statement by the third party. That's privilege for purposes of tortious interference. Privilege is not a truth to defamation, or not a defense to defamation. Truth is the defense to defamation. I guess it's possible that there could be a privilege. No. They're saying they made in good faith without malice, so they're trying for that public figure standard here. Public figure doctrine, that you would have to have malice, actual malice, for the defamation charges, but I don't know that that's going to be sufficient. Truth is the main defense to defamation. Privilege, like just because someone, hey, will you tell me about John? Well, yeah, let me tell you about John. John rapes children. If that's untrue, just because the other person asked you for it doesn't mean you get to defame John, right? That's not how that goes. So next paragraph. This one's a weird one. Tweeting I want his balls isn't malice. Well, they're asserting the defense. It doesn't necessarily mean that the defense is going to be good. Strictly in the alternative and by way of affirmative defense, defendant asserts that she committed no act and or omission which would justify any claims for exemplary or punitive damages. Defendant would show that plaintiff's claims for exemplary and or punitive damages are in violation of defendant's rights under the 1st, 5th, 8th, and 14th Amendments to the United States Constitution and Article 1, Section 3, 8, and 19 of the Texas Constitution, in that such claims are arbitrary, unreasonable, excessive, and in violation of the defendant's rights to due process of law and equal protection under the law. That's a mouthful. It's also not supported by law because punitive and exemplary damages are part of the statutory authority of courts to impose. They've been upheld for decades, maybe longer. Punitive and exemplary damages are part of the legal process that are accepted. They're certainly not violative on their face of any amendments. Where they become violative is when the punitive or exemplary damages awards become excessive, unreasonably so. So basically, a punitive award is where you say, you did this thing, we proved that. Now, we don't want you or anyone else watching to do the thing that you did again. So we're going to multiply the damages and add more to it to punish you. As a punitive measure, you have to pay extra. Okay? Exemplary damages are similar, but they're under statute where they say that if they do this and this condition is met, then a multiplier of this amount is applied automatically. So these are technically restraints on speech or other activity that could be considered art, artistic. So what you have to do is they have to meet the scrutiny test. The scrutiny is, are they narrowly tailored to achieve the desired outcome? Which just means, are they reasonable under the facts of the case? Now, if you say Vic was damaged by her defamation, he's awarded $27 billion in 2 of her children. that's not really a reasonable outcome. But let's say the amount of damages that they can prove at trial is from Jamie Markey is 100 grand. And then they say, well, look, under the statute, you get exemplary damages, which triple that. So you're 300 grand. And then we're going to actually add in another 150 grand because we want people to, we've looked at your finances and we want people to realize that you can't just do this. You can't just destroy someone based on this stuff. So we're going to add this 150 grand to deter you or anyone else from doing it in the future. That's not unconstitutional. That's been upheld over and over again. All right, let's move on though. Defendant further submits that due process, this is weird. Due process requires any such claims for exemplary or punitive damages to be proved beyond a reasonable doubt under the 6th Amendment of the United States Constitution. I'm not aware of this at all. Let me see. Let's see if I can do this on the fly real quick. There's no citation given. So this is wild. Exemplary damages, 6th Amendment. I'm guessing there's not going to be an easy case to find on this. Like, imagine if you could defeat all exemplary damages with a 6th Amendment challenge saying beyond a reasonable doubt in a civil suit. All right, hold on. Let me try exemplary damages beyond doubt. Colorado has that. Maybe I need to narrow this to Texas. This will be interesting. I've never heard of this, so bear with me here. I'm researching on the fly, which I know is super interesting to you guys. Let's see that. That's been overturned. Let's see. You can yell at me if you hate this part. Sorry. Let's see. Man, I am not finding beyond a reasonable doubt attached to exemplary damages in Texas. In Colorado, there was a case. I'll have to look into that. The only case where evidence didn't support the award of punitive damages in insurance bad faith suit was overturned. Yeah, I'm gonna rule that this is not good law in Texas for now. But I'm gonna look into this one. I'm gonna look into what the argument could be. This is really, really this is a really interesting claim. I don't know, like, so this is what we call a public policy argument, okay? When you don't have a legal argument to stand on, you make a public policy argument. If you can, you say, you know what? This may be the law, but it shouldn't be. So exemplary damages may be allowed, but they shouldn't be for my client because they're like criminal. Oh, here, let's see what he says. Beyond a reasonable doubt, of course, is a standard in criminal to prove criminal liability under the 6th Amendment of the United States Constitution. Additionally, the assessment of punitive damages, a remedy that is essentially criminal in nature, that's not true, without safeguards greater than those afforded by the Texas Rules of Civil Procedure and the laws of this state, constitute the infliction of a criminal penalty without the necessary safeguards guaranteed by the 1st, 5th, 6th, 8th, and 14th Amendments to the United States Constitution. Defendant would assert all limitations and application of Chapter 41 of the Texas Civil Procedure and Remedies Code. So there you go. This is a very thin public policy argument. Let's finish the document and I'll talk about it a little bit more. We're almost done. Finally, strictly in the alternative and by way of affirmative defense, defendant asserts the truth/substantial truth of any alleged statements made the basis of plaintiff's claims. So there's your defamation defense, truth. Wherefore, premises considered, defendant prays that plaintiff take nothing by this suit, and that the defendant go hence without delay and recover all costs expended on defendant's behalf. Praying further, defendant prays for such other and further relief, either at law or in equity, to which defendant may be justly entitled. There you go. It's been it's been served and forward to all counsel of record, May 31st. So just earlier today. All right. Here's what this filing tells me. 1, it's simple. 2, Jamie's not grandstanding. That's very interesting. Jamie's not grandstanding at all on this this thing. Monica and Ron took their answer as an opportunity to grandstand, to further defame Vic, to make some really stupid statements, and try to get that in the hands of the court. This is a no-nonsense kind of guy. Her attorney is. And he either, he either direct or, kind of coached her to say, we don't want to do that. Or she's not looking to do it. Either way, here's what I see. 2 things. 1, I smell a little bit of fear. A little bit of fear. And 2, I smell a possibility of settlement in this. The no grandstanding thing is very interesting for the prospect of settlement. Jamie Markey doesn't have to walk back as much as Monica and Ron do. Jamie Markey isn't on the Kamea texts. I don't necessarily know her involvement in directly contacting people. She obviously spread a fictitious story. She supported the spread of fictitious stories. She said she wants his head, she wants his balls, she wants him to suffer, all of that stuff. But she doesn't have to walk back as much as Monica and Ron do, because Monica and Ron kept doing it. They've done it through the court case. So if there's a possibility of working something out, I think Markey might be a signal that there's some willingness to at least entertain a discussion. Which is, if there's one thing Monica and Ron's filing is, we will not settle, is written all over it. They could change their mind, but it's written all over it that they do not have any intention to settle this. As for the fear, this is the longest paragraph by a long shot in the document. 1, 2, 3, 4 lines, 5 lines, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 lines dedicated to an argument for something that does not exist under current law in Texas or in many states, may not exist as stated in the states where it does exist, against something that's ancillary to the claim. Like, this is punitive and exemplary damages are proven after everything else is proven, right? Like, you have to show the defamation happens, you have to do all of that. They spent an inordinate amount of time making this. Now, the annoying thing is, of course, BHBH will have to go in and they'll have to craft a defense to this, or a counter to this affirmative defense. They'll have to look up all case law that suggests that punitive and exemplary damages are just fine, and they'll have to support it. It's going to be really annoying to research it, but this argument is weird to put in here. They really flesh it out too. If this were a normal affirmative defense, it would look like this one or this one. But laying out the argument in the affirmative defense in your answer, you're having to tell the judge exactly why this is an affirmative defense, because the judge will have never seen this argument before. That's not a good place to be. I do think Jamie Markey is a little bit afraid of all this. I think that service is reality hitting home. She responded very quickly. She could have dragged this out to what, like June 10th or something like that. She had to respond June 17th, maybe even. And she answered right away. We'll see. It'll really kind of depend on how talks go with Samuel Johnson and Beard Harris Bullock and Hughes. But let me just say again, this, even though, no, it's not going to go criminal. This case will not go criminal. Get anything out of your mind about criminality. The only potential criminal stuff would be some sort of like contempt of court type thing or perjury. And even that, even if they're shown to perjure themselves, likely not going to end up criminal. Don't read into the stuff on Pretty Ugly Little Liars. Those are the stupidest people on earth, just to be other than Shane, I guess. They have no idea what's happening. They have no idea. So many of them have no idea what's going on. They think Vic is on criminal trial. They think Vic's the defendant. All of that stuff. You can read it over and over and over on that forum. This is not a criminal case. It's a civil case. It won't go criminal or become criminal. And even if it did, it doesn't seem like these people would need to levy a criminal defense. It would be presumably Vic if they found some act that somehow didn't violate the statute of limitations or something that would go criminal. So no, get that out of your mind. Like that's not explaining what's going on here. He's likening the idea of punitive damages to a criminal punishment because it's the government acting in a punitive fashion. It's a public policy argument, but it's not a very good one. We'll say. So no. I think that the service of process has hit home for Jamie. She responded very quickly with a very straightforward answer. It's from a lawyer who isn't like look at what Casey and Monica did. They went to one of the big firms in Dallas and they hired Casey Erick. Casey and Monica. Ron and Monica went to a big firm in Dallas, hired Casey Erick, who's $1 million litigator, and all these stupid tags that could be attached to him. They hired a show pony. Jamie Markey didn't. She's not making public statements on this. She's not grandstanding on this stuff. And that's important to notice. So make sure you pay attention to stuff like that because that helps you get into the minds of the other parties and where they are. If I look at this filing and I look at Casey Erick's filing, I think I've got potential for settlement here. I've got an idiot over here. Somewhere, either it's the lawyer or the party that's an idiot, but one of those is not helping out. So that's my thoughts on this answer. We'll see what happens. They of course could file a TCPA motion here as well. Very likely to see that happen. We'll see if they start playing discovery games. But notice they could have filed a TCPA with the answer. They could have done that, but they didn't. All of this is interesting. To me, this thing screams, I want to talk. I want to at least see what my options are. So it also doesn't cost very much, right? Look at this. What this, an hour? Probably. An hour of time, maybe 2. Got this weird argument in here, but I don't know if that's research. That could have been something that he's been mulling around. He's like, well, I could throw it in there. Maybe he didn't even have to do any extra work for this. This is an hour. Maybe 2 hours tops of prep. That's significantly cheaper than what Ron and Monica put out. So, yeah, I think reality's here for Markey. I think this indicates that she might be willing to talk. I think that's very, very smart of Markey, and she absolutely should talk to the other party. because there is no reason to like try and hold on to a defamation position if you've got a way out. And the first person who talks gets the best deal. So there we go. All right. Let's go through super chats. And then we might wrap up a little early tonight. I don't know if we will or not. There's a bunch of chats to go through. If we do, either way, I'm playing Chaos Bane tonight. I don't know about you guys. And I will be on Twitch. I'll be on Twitch. So, yeah, Daniel Dawson, short answer, yes. Okay. All right, Beat Agent, thanks for the donations. Project Magepunk says, got out of jury duty today by telling the court that I'm morally opposed to the existence of the state. Hashtag ANCAP, hashtag life is beautiful. That is brilliant. Good job. Adam GBK1 says, yeah, man, it needs explaining what the hell happened. Just last stream, I was in hysterics over him outing himself with information on his own doc. And none of that, again, that was Casey, recap, that was Casey Erick's big win. He didn't have to defend that abysmal document. He did not have to defend that abysmal document. The model behind me is a Robotech YF1R. It's not a model, it's a die-cast metal figurine. It's a fully transformable Veritech. My friend just gave it to me a couple days ago, and a very dear friend who he and I grew up watching Robotech and other anime together. Let's see. Storm Knight MD says, this seems to me that Marky is not in as good a financial or social standing as she puts forward. She lives in a duplex. She's probably wanting to deal because she has no choice. Between her kids and any debt she has, she may have to set a deal. She lives in a duplex. That's not a bad thing, by the way. Living in a duplex is just fine. Living in a duplex and being sued, facing $50,000 to $100,000 of attorney's fees alone plus damages. That's when living in a duplex is a bad indicator, right? Do they have the disposable income? Do they have the capital? Because typically, like, for your average person, your home is the biggest investment you ever make. So if a person's home is not a huge investment, they probably, on average, don't have a giant stock portfolio of money sitting around. And people tend to live up to their means. Actually, people tend to live beyond their means. So if you have a duplex and you're making hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, people tend to upgrade to a bigger house or a nicer house or in a better area or anything like that. Again, this is no slight to people who live in duplexes or anything like that. It's not even a slight to Jamie Markey, but it is indicative, at least, of her financial picture. And when you're faced with, guys, she's faced with a year of income in attorney's fees, with your year of income going to nothing else. This is so expensive. I can't stress it enough how expensive this is. You make $100,000 a year, that's a great income. That's not enough. You make $200,000 a year, that's a great income. Imagine having to spend half of it when you weren't last year spending half of it, but imagine to now spend half of it on a lawsuit. Imagine spending 3/4 of it on a lawsuit. Can you pay your bills? No. That's the short answer, no. She paying off the BMW. That's probably leased. It's probably leased. So anyway, let's keep going. Jordan Rhodes says the chances of Casey making a complete fool out of himself is about as big as Mars Girl's arms. Can't wait to see how much brain damage I receive from this. Keep up the good work, Nick. Look, Casey didn't make a fool of himself. Casey had to go into this hearing with no clear objective on a no win condition. They had to make the win condition the confidentiality agreement, and to do that, they had to convince themselves that the agreement itself was important outside of the context of anything that was going on. Whereas, again, Beard, Harris, Bullock, and Hughes had a clear win condition. If we go and we either get a confidentiality agreement that secures the confidentiality of Vic's deposition until after the TCPA, or we get all depositions done before the TCPA, we win. They got that. They had a clear win condition. Casey Erick didn't. He didn't make a fool of himself, but he just had nothing to work towards. It makes your arguments very difficult. Lucian, Sabata Darkness says, I think the filing by Casey might actually be Shane pretending to be Casey. If that's the case, I fully expect Shane to be hit with a defamation suit soon. Shane's not going to be sued. Again, no one wants crusty old Cheerios. That's all they'd win in damages from Shane. Also, Shane doesn't know anything. He's shown over and over to be functionally disabled in every sense of the word. There's nothing that Shane can bring to the table. Why do you think he's trying so hard to get in? He's trying to become the focus. If they can get Vic to waste resources looking into Shane, that's a small victory for them. But why look into Shane? He's a black hole of disgusting nastiness. Ugh. Cass Michael says, using Ancestry website, I can prove Casey is a Jew. Oh, okay. Blaine 20 says, hashtag in Shane we trust. Grim brooding. Omega Man, thanks for the donation. Horatius Cockles says, for Dorn, for Sigismund, for the Emperor. King Penification says, Godzilla King of Monsters is a terrible movie. Godzilla was nothing more than a plot device. It was nothing more than family drama. Michael Bennett, thanks for the donations. Omega Man says, mission failed. We'll get him next time. Funny Guy, thanks for the donation. Jonathan Malwitz says, wonder if Walmart shoes are considered great value. DNA Crows says, I got stuck late at work. Have one AirPod in and nodding to whatever the customer says as I listen to the stream. Spent part of the day arguing with Shane, so hoping to recover brain cells here. Buddy, oh man, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. This gin sip is for you, buddy. Rando number 9 says, can I get some F's in chat, guys? I was caught doing Fortnite dances in a bathroom at work because I forgot to lock the door. No! Oh, that's not good. The Big Red Bear says, can we just use the term shameful instead of shameful? Going forward, that just seems more accurate. Yes, I'm okay with that. Dale says, have you heard Russ Greer's new song and seen the video the autists at Kiwi Farms made for him? No. Jesse N says, lawsuit or lol suit? The lull suit for me will forever be Maddox's lawsuit. It will be the lull suit. I like the Spike Man says, oh whoa, Vwick Wast, Weiss Twive Wudgens, you woo twide bud. All the right side are standing against you. We know Oasis all holding us all. Oh God, I hate that. No Name says, Shane's channel, law chewing the inner shoes. Harbinger 345 says, Daddy Judge laying down the law, literally. Yeah. Asuria Sky says, my wife and I have listened to every lawsuit episode 4 times. All right. Thank you for that. Ariel Fetters says, someone should check on Ty to make sure he hasn't hurt himself laughing at these idiots. No, Ty's doing just fine. Texan83 says, this feels like if we're going down, we're dragging all of you with us kind of thing. Funimation better hard think about that settlement offer. Funimation's attorney was at the hearing. They're going to see. I mean, they'll see all of this stuff. They'll see how, they'll see that Monica and Ron don't think their actions are defamatory and want to continue. Well, Monica's going to be associated with Funimation. Right? Unless she's not. They'll have to make that decision. Irie Ice 36 says, Nick, do you think that Casey lost 100 IQ points, or do you think that he's playing devil's advocate and is also sick of Kick Vic? No, I think he's working with what he's got. He's got difficult plaintiffs who are demonstrably dumb. who don't listen to him. Ron wasn't listening. When they got a lawyer, finally got a lawyer, Ron privated his account and stopped tweeting about Vic. Couldn't handle it. So he got out and started tweeting about Vic. This hearing, the judge asks, wait, is your client still tweeting? And Casey says, I've asked him not to, or I told him not to. And then after this hearing, Ron's account goes private again. Casey has uncooperative clients who are stupid. He's got to work with that. Let's see. Joni Baloney. Plot twist, Shane is a judge. Sentences Nick to suck his chair juice from a kitchen shoe. Oh! Love your show, Nick. It's the Bayo. Darn, I already read that. Bad Dragonite says, not gonna lie, thought it was Andre the Black Nerd. Timecode Mechanic says, heads up, Bounding Into Comics reported Disney is issuing copyright strikes against YouTubers who criticize Captain Marvel, G&G, and Mundane Matt got Guardians of the Galaxy, I guess. No, Geeks and Gamers and Mundane Matt got hit. That's why I don't do that stuff. Anthony De Hoyos, thanks for the donations. Mike Lombardo says, Chuck freaking Huber was there? Yes, sir. Sergeant F. Off says, why didn't the judge call out Casey for the motion? Because the judge doesn't. Judges don't like discovery fights. They're a waste of time. The judge has anything else he'd rather be doing. Judge would rather be just back in chambers. You know, listening to Enya or whatever they do. He doesn't want to call him out for the motion, especially if he can get them to agree on what should happen going forward. How does the court handle this? What are you after? Well, Judge, we just want to have everybody deposed before a TCPA motion. Well, you're not going to depose him and then file a TCPA, are you? No. Well, then why are we here? Now, we know why we're here, because 3 weeks prior, Ty had offered that and Casey turned it down. That's why we're there. But the judge resolves it without it. He doesn't need to do that. So, all right, next. Solo Beverly says, Shane on Twitter, if Pull is up to no good, they deserve it. This actually happened. Oh, Shane, you need to stop it. Elio Vladen says, Legend of Time Vic. I mean, wouldn't it be unfortunate if Pretty Ugly Little Liars opened a thread on Shane? I mean, he's got one on Kiwi Farms. Pull. Apparently Shane thinks that you deserve being doxxed or whatever. Elio Vladen says, Legend of Ty and Vic and the Soy of Scrolls. Dragonfist 900 says, Jamie, my legal knowledge is malarkey. GRP Poll says, super chat for a super lawyer for a super case. Thanks, buddy. DXDKJ Ambipass Studio Production says, I DM Vic to sing of my songs and he seemed interested. There you go. Snarkticon DM says, Casey's huge win. He saved 15% on car insurance by switching to Geico. ERB Beta Patch says, does the fact that Mo Ronica are being represented by the same counsel reflect poorly on the civil conspiracy claim? Not really. The conflict of interest of counsel typically lies with the parties. So if they waive the conflict, it's fine. Usually. Velka says, any chances Mr. Dick Masterson can be available to talk about the lawsuit overview show? I don't know. I don't know if he's available. I'll invite him on tomorrow. I don't know if he'll want to come on or not. Dragonfist 900 says, hashtag rip the judge's patience. Fox in a wolf pack says, so when are Ronica and Shane being brought up on charges for the mass genocide of the public's brain cells? Is there no justice for the spectators? Baal of Babylon says, out of curiosity, if bets were made on your predictions tonight being correct, what odds would you give yourself? What would be the alternate argument to what you've presented tonight? Just say F you if that'd take too much time to explain. That would take too much time to explain. At some point, I might try and do an argument for the other side's case, but it's really, really difficult, and I can't stress that enough. Like, The facts speak to defamation and tortious interference. The legal argument speaks to defamation and tortious interference. I don't know what else to say. It's a hard argument. Your arguments basically rely on truth. They rely on privilege in the TI case, like Marky's lawyer laid out, or they rely on truth. The stories have to be true. It's a tough one. It's tough. Let's see. Mike Lombardo says, Chuck and Vic are good friends. He worked for free on Vic's Star Trek series. Thanks, Chuck, for being there for Vic. Love his work on Yu Yu Hakusho. DCV Titan says, Nick, you can't argue what he did was good. Shane, hold my soy. James Carg, notice the red drink. That Snapple or a red liquor? No, this is Gatorade G2. I'm out of Milo's. I'm out of Milo's sweet tea right now. Hey Milo's, if you want to help me out with that. No, I'm out of Milo's, so I gotta go to Walmart tomorrow and pick some more up. But I grabbed whatever I could. I'm not a big fan of water. Oh, and the other one was like Strawberry Crush, because Drexel was at my house. That's not a joke. Lawrence White says, Nick, what's your take of Marky not on episode 6 of Strike Witches? I'm withholding judgment on that. I don't know what that means. I mean, I know she's not on there. I don't know if she's permanently replaced or if they had some alternative voice for the show or something for some reason. Very weird. It's a weekly show. Maybe she was sick. I don't know. So I'm withholding judgment, but I'm very interested about that. That changes the calculus quite a bit. If she was actually removed by Funimation, that changes her settlement calculus quite a bit, and it changes Funimation settlement calculus quite a bit. Milo's said they won't sponsor me. That's fine. Daniel Dawson says, so Casey's win was basically against himself? Yes. Nick Thorne says, my thoughts exactly, but unfortunately they disagree. Oh, well, it's going to happen. I don't care. I don't care like what the other side of this thinks. I don't care what Shane's opinion is. Shane is consistently incorrect. So there's a possibility that he'll get something right, but you wouldn't know it until you look for yourself anyway. Pretty Ugly Little Liars still thinks Vic is going to prison after this. So they're all the dumbest people. I don't care what other people think about this. I guess that's the grand irony of all of it. Shane can say whatever he wants, obviously. It won't make him any more correct. He's almost never correct. That's just how it goes. Let's see. Oh, yeah. Oh, well, it's going to happen. Although with my happy-go-lucky nature, I think I'm the drunk that lets everybody know exactly how much he loves them. Attaboy. Woodman Gaming says, oh, wait, no, you were talking about your family. You're talking about your religious family not being your DD. I'm sorry. Well, I just took that. I hijacked that super chat and took it for my own purposes. Woodman Gaming says, sup, Nick? Digging the thunderstorm? Yeah, it's been... I meant to mention it at the beginning of the stream, just in case the stream went down, that there's a huge thunderstorm going on. Since I'm in the vault, I caught just the very tiny beginning of it, and I'm been missing the rest, which makes me sad because I have giant windows now that overlook a vast expanse of land, and I would love to watch a thunderstorm roll over it. Alistor's Knight says, so what you're saying is Casey's biggest win today was against himself for not having to answer for his own incompetence in the previous motion. Yes. Yes, absolutely. And that is really a big win. Lane 20 says, y'all gonna learn today. God of Plague says, Nick is very entertaining. Lol hypnotism, no. AMV Alchemist 6131 says, could Ty's team ask Ronica in their deposition about them wanting to file a TCPA before they were deposed when they're under oath? Yeah, they could. I don't know that you need to, but you could. You can ask anything in a deposition. They can object, but they tend to still have to answer. William Benilla says, does the fact that the judge thought Ty was Vic play into the public figure argument at all? Yes, absolutely it does. Judge has no idea who Vic Mignogna is. Yeah, it does. Casey mispronouncing his name. His name. This is a public figure. You're representing the people defaming the public figure, and you're calling him Mignogna? Like Vic Egnogna? What are you doing? How very public figure. You can't, the opposing counsel can't pronounce his name right, Judge, and you thought that Vic was Ty or Ty was Vic. Either way. Yeah, that plays into a great argument. Unbeknownst times 12 says, I'd like to see Funimation's firing history and turnover rate. Oh, wouldn't we all? That'll be interesting when Funimation execs get deposed, won't it? Funimation really has to be questioning whether they want to have people deposed. Marina Mako says, oh, if they look bad from all that, just wait till the judge sees how Monica, Jamie, and Ron lashed out at people. That won't be a good look. Architect of Fate says, breaking news, Ginsburg just kicked the bucket. https:/americatalks.com news breaking Ruth Bader Ginsburg dead. Pretty sure that's not true. Ruth Bader Ginsburg can't die. Sacrificed too many children to keep her alive. Snarkticon DM says, what does Kick Vic and Shane Shoes have in common? Neither has a soul. Waka waka. Blaine 20 says, Shane has accused you of intending to dox people and blame Ronica for stopping their confidentiality order. I have no intention to dox people at all. I don't know what these people are talking about. I've never doxed anyone. So weird. The closest thing these dummies can pull up from me that is a dox is I released like a year ago the address of Kevin Landau's mailroom that he rents in New York. It's not even an office address. It's a Regis rental office that accepts mail. Okay? I doxed Kevin Landau's P.O. box a year ago. That's the only thing they can ever find. They accuse me of doxing all the time. That's the only thing I've ever doxed. And it's because he sent that information to me by filing an ethics complaint against me. Now, I did the courtesy on all these dumb people of censoring out their addresses from the ethics complaint. Why do they think I'm going to... I don't care who gets doxed. I'm not crying tears for the doxed. I'm not holding candles. I'm not rocking Sarah McLachlan. I'm not bumming out in my room to Nirvana tapes because someone gets doxed. I don't care. But I haven't actually done it to anybody. It's so funny. Again, keep making things up. But I'm just telling you, they want it all public. So when they put in a court document the names and addresses of people that get subpoenaed, that's not me doxing anybody. That's the state putting it out there. You think Kiwi Farms isn't going to post it? You think other interested people aren't going to post it? Good luck. Good luck on that. Anyway. Fluffy Side Up says, is it also possible the judge is interested in the case and just wants to listen to the depositions? The judge won't be in the deposition room. I don't want people to be under the impression. They'll be in a jury room. The judge will be available doing other work. And if they have something that they need to ask for confidentiality on, they would send it to the judge, and either between cases or while he's working on things in chambers, he would be able to issue that ruling. That doesn't mean the judge is going to be sitting there listening to the depositions. That's not likely. Woodman Gaming says, Wix Grand Champion, best cured meats in the area. No, these are just cheap things I got from a local grocery store, but they're good. They're good. I do have some Wix meat sticks in my freezer. Got a big gift card to Wix. I need to go down there. Marius Vank says, enjoying 8-year Lagavulin now. Tasty. Do they get even better later? I've never had the 8. 16 is beautiful and smooth. The 12 is oily and fire in your mouth. They're very, very different. Gary Rawling, the 12 is also cask strength and will mess you up quick. Gary Rawling says, any chance Veronica is stupid enough to no-show deposition after Vix? Try to draw it out to embarrass him into dropping the suit? If they do that, that would be a wildly bad move. You already reached out to Dick? Awesome. I'll talk to him in DMs. PG and White Knight says, check Twitter. A&N just threatened Hero Hay. Yeah, again, A&N can posture all they want. They're a garbage publication. Everyone knows it. They lost that copyright strike. And, yeah. They could have pressed the copyright strike. By the way, just deleting that video doesn't mean that they won. I don't even know if he deleted the video, but even if he did, it doesn't mean that the copyright strike goes away. They have to drop it. Why'd they drop it? They weren't going to sue him. Why weren't they going to sue him? Can't afford it. Would have been a loss. They know it was fair use, and they would have gotten absolutely BTFO'd on attorney's fees. Ismail Bolden says, hey, Nick, you think Vic will grow his beard out? Because everyone fears the beard. Wink, wink. I don't know. I'll ask him at Matsuri. Bagel Goose says, I heard there was Gamer Girl P. No one important says, too bad this guy's client is such a biatch. Marky. She has been, but maybe she's turning it around. Sean Tebow says, Nick, the Sixth Amendment is criminal only. Yeah, I know it is. He's trying to make an argument that punitive damages are criminal damages. It's not a good argument. GR People says, these cases should be settled by each party choosing a turtle champion, having them fight to the death. Best turtle wins the turtle case. No one important says, I hope she is afraid. Her tweets are full bravado. Like Toye's smiley face tweets, I imagine that Marky's tough guy persona comes out when she's terrified. Yorgamundo 07, Ruby King 1997, thanks for the donation. Yorgamundo 7 says, maybe that Sixth Amendment bit is just a personal pet project of Marky's lawyer. Something he debates with friends and he threw it in to try it out. Yeah, that's honestly very likely. Takaki Onsai says, Q Van Halen's Jamie's crying. Ruby King 1997 says, Jamie been afraid since she'd been dodging her papers? Yep. Daniel Dawson says, so a response is required even if just settling. Yes. Yes, you must answer or you will default. Unless you settle before the answer time deadline, I wouldn't ever count on that. Christopher Sanford says, smart to get away from the Ronica show if she can. Very smart. Monica and Ron are a toxic combination, Jamie. You should know this by now. Narcoticon DM says, Ronica will end up living in a van down by the river. Cyber Warrior says, Mars Girl arms so big she can bear hug a galaxy. Cynic in Chief says, being Shane is both his crime and his punishment. No one important says, sorry, but my pity well is pretty much dry for Marky, the redheaded biatch. Let her pay financially. It's not up to me. Not up to you. It's up to Vic. Racuna says, despite our differences, I feel that Marky's response deserves some props, especially after dealing with Jester Ronica. This at least has dignity. I agree. Andy M says, do you think Funny cut Jamie's contract because she can't shut up and they don't want that used against them? It's very possible. Or it's completely unrelated, and it's important to remember that not everything is going to be related to this case. Don't jump on the train of saying that she's been filed forever. Don't jump on the train of thinking that it's automatically related. We don't have that info. If you've got that info, it'd be great to find out, but I'd be very cautious. Ismail Bolden says, and Nick, oh my God, I can't believe you boomed Anime Matsuri while during that interview. It's so contagious. It goes over the internets. Blaine20 says, in Tug voice, I love that tentacle porn. Blaine20 says, thanks for the blackmail. Zachary Zwickle says, shut up and take my money. Caldeo the Horse says, why is Casey wasting money and time? Well, it's technically Monica and Ron wasting the money and time. I think he knows they're going to lose, and Jamie is most likely going to settle and act like nothing happened. Love y'all. We'll see. Blaine20 says, a tortoise has made it into the water. Nick Thorne says, Shane could totally be my DD. He'd have soy milk. Sith Lord Darth Beerus says, Nick, love the show. Wishing you well from New England. Hey, back at you, buddy. Rantom says, take my free super chat money. Gladly. Caldeo the Horse says, notice how Sky and Arms Girl are keeping quiet? Just checked Arms Girl's GoFundMe and it's dead. Nobody has donated in about a week. Hashtag attention thought. Yeah. Blaine20 says, someone in chat asked earlier what the thing behind you is on the bookshelf. I'll pull it up in just a second. Narcticon DM says, I love Vic McNognog in Fuel Muddle Anarchist. Jamal Breezy says, do you think Shane is low-key watching the stream? Oh, I think Shane watches every stream. I think he can't get enough of it. Guys, let's be real. I've been feeling fine. You think Shane's not watching this stream? That is premium. That is, look at the height on that chair. Whoo-wee, you think Shane isn't watching? Shane is definitely. I gotta record these streams and put them up on Shane Hub. Bagel Goose says, first to flip only gets the tip. That's true. That's true. All right, let's hit these justice chats real quick. Poor donated and said, I wanted to say thank you for introducing me to Basil Hayden's. Whenever something awful happens in my life and I have to dull the pain with liquor, I consider that liquor a good friend. Thank you for introducing me to a good friend. Listen to that ad that Basil Hayden's just got. Hi. I just want to tell you about Basil Hayden's. Whenever something awful in my life happens and I just need to dull the pain with liquor, I consider that liquor a good friend. Thank you for introducing me to a good friend. Okay, question mark says, can you access funds from a GoFundMe that hasn't finished yet? Yes. Yes, they transfer pretty much daily. If not, I'd bet that Vic getting back to Kamehacon was more important than you were letting on. No, Vic's, although I'm not sure when we actually got the funds to start going to Ty and the into the IOLTA account. I don't remember the exact date and how that played out with Kamehacon. It was absolutely a big deal. And yes, it was more important than I was letting on. It always is. The GoFundMe is absurdly important. Yes, GoFundMe funds transfer as you go, once you get it set up. Importantly, none of them ever transferred to me, and I never even would have had the opportunity because since I set it up for a third party, they immediately lock it until you get the third party involved with GoFundMe to approve everything. So, no, I was not able to access any of them. All right. Knight of Hope X says, it's part of their strategy. Ron and Monica get to pretend Eric talked them into it and play it off as victims, while their sleazy lawyer tries to make everyone accept them responsible for Vic's settlement to force them all to fight him in court. Where Tiger Ray says, Casey wants everything public so they can sandbag everything on Funimation and increase their liability. Every email involved at Rooster Teeth and Funimation is going to get exposed. Any employee involved is going to get exposed, and they have the money. Charles, oh wait, I read that one. DLJ Screwjob says, I want to see the look on Monica's face when she's asked, Ms. Rial, is it true that you tweeted multiple people who were simply asking you to produce evidence that you and other Funimation employees say you had with thanks for the screenshot, etc., etc.? Poor says, you're a man of faith, not to think you should act like a pastor, but would you consider a religion-themed stream? I did one on Christmas. I would consider another one. Maybe a stream about how religion has influenced our legal system or something about religion relating to law. I don't know. It might be good. Yeah, I don't have any problem doing that. As long as people find it. I just want people to find it entertaining. I also debated an atheist about religious influence on law. And that was an interesting show to me. He's a good guy. Critical Riposte is the guy, but I'll occasionally talk about it. But it's I don't want to say this in the wrong way. Religion is not the central part of my life, and I don't think it's supposed to be. Yeah, let me just put it out that way. Knight of Hope X says, "Dude, Marky's lawyer." We have punitive damages to stop the government from... Oh, to Marky's lawyer. We have punitive damages to stop the government from having to make criminal law, i.e. put people in jail, in order to stop people from ruining other people's lives by defaming them. Maybe read up on the purpose and history of law, dude. Good point. Good point. Schwazoom says Hero Hey has a video reading a bunch of archived stories from that Tumblr blog that was taken down. Many of them were attacking his Christianity. Think that's why it was gone, because it won't fly well with a Fort Worth judge/jury. It's very possible. Tech7 Ghost says credit where credit is due. Shane unblocked me from Twitter after I asked nicely. Maybe you should try the same, Nick. I don't care if Shane blocks me or not. Don't care at all. Sexy Mailbox says, read this in a snobby rich guy voice. Robotech, you say? You know real fans call it by the name its homeland gave it, Macross. There you go. TLJ Screwjob says, somebody on the farms said that since Casey, Erick, Monica Rial, and Ron Toye all want everything to be public, that means that Monica's and apparently Ron's prior abuse, which she alleges happened, will that now be public because the Amazons will ask you? Yeah. Arcane Sidious says, Nick, you have yet to respond to my emails about the moonshine, which has led me to reach one real conclusion. You are scared of the apple pie moonshine. How embarrassing. Just kidding. You're an awesome lawyer. Maybe take it with you to Matsuri. Yes, oh my gosh. You're right. I will respond to you tonight. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry I forgot. TLJ Screwjob says, what if Funimation settles and hands over stuff, and in that stuff are Funimation execs or whoever saying, yeah, we'll fire Vic, just don't quit yourselves, which would have implicated them. Is that res judicata thing? Look, if they agree to drop Funimation and their executives from the suit because they settle out, that's what they do. They drop it, they're settled. They're done. Yeah, so res judicata. Estra Generation says there's another Texas case with Samuel H. Johnson's name on it with the argument that punitive damages are unconstitutional. Oh, good. How'd that go? I wonder if he's failed this argument before. I'll have to read up on it. That was back in 2015. Very, very interesting. Next. TLJ Screwjob says Monica's Twitter. It's innocent until proven guilty, and that's only in a court of law. 6:08 p.m. February 6th, 2019. Uh-oh, how embarrassing. And I genuinely love how the comments are all, that's a universal UN human right, and are you serious? There you go. All right, last couple super chats, and then we'll wrap up. NE is Nebraska, not New England. Sorry. What was I thinking? Okay, Chem is Life says child rapist found back in Kansas just 9 days after he was deported to Mexico. Yet the media has been saying for years that we don't have a problem on the border. So glad the GoFundMe is progressing. Weird to tie those two, but I'll take it. Lane 20 says, Judge, is Vic Montana the country singer father of Miley Cyrus? Reek, thanks for the donation. Sith Lord Darth Beer says NE equals Nebraska. Yes, it does. Sorry for saying New England. It's the gin. It's the gin. Gin does things. Jedi Nightwing says Shane's chair looks like it was tortured on Game of Thrones. Asia Fraser says, are you the geekdom to Shane's perfection? Oh man. Zachary Zwickle says, do you think Shane gets off on the abuse you send his way? God, I hope not. Snarkticon DM says your chair is the high price call girl that Shane will never get. Serenius Akari says thanks for your hard work. Zachary Zwickle says, silly Nick, when it comes to arguments about religion, they're not arguments, they are shouting matches to see who's the most loud and wrong. Well, you should watch mine then. Snarkticon DM says, will Ron and Monica's sex life be public? Oh, sick faces. Cesario JPN says, is the attempt by Ronica to get everything must/should be made public some sort of scorched earth gambit? What sort of gain would they get from it? I think they just cashed in on or they paid in on that and then stuck with it. Right? Oh, shoot. What would we look like now? It's a stupid move, by the way. They think, what would we look like now if we agree to confidentiality and we don't stick with this? Oh, okay. Now everything's going to be public, I guess. We'll see if they leak some of Vic's deposition. That'll be interesting, I suppose. Asphyxiation says Marky's lawyer is missing his eyebrows. Fact. Well, that's weird. Oh, you were referring to the wall that GoFundMe that raised 22 million. There you go. Sounds good. All right, guys. Well, this has been lovely Lovely time with you. I hope that answered your questions about the hearing. I don't know what else there is to say about it. There could be more answers or more questions asked about the hearing. I am planning an upcoming show with Ty Beard and Jim Bullock as we go on. I don't know if they'll be able or willing to talk about the case or not, but since everything's going to be public, maybe they will be. I don't know. But that will probably be a daytime stream. I don't know when it's going to be. I'm actually going to be in Tyler very soon. I'll be visiting Beard, Harris, Bullock, and Hughes to talk to some of the main peoples there in person. I'll try and put some pictures out on Instagram of that or something. Really ruin other people when they keep saying that I'm like an agent or attorney if I visit there. That'd be fun. But yeah, so other than that, I am going to switch over to Twitch in just a little bit. Got to refill some drinks and get some more snacks. Chaos Bane awaits. Brand new. It was released early for people who bought the higher editions. I of course bought the Magnus edition because I try to support Warhammer games, whether they're good or not. I try and buy them. I bought the Magnus edition, and so I have the early access pass. We'll be playing tonight. If you want to join me on Twitch and check that out. Otherwise, tomorrow, I'm not going to play Ace Attorney on Twitch. I'll play Ace Attorney on YouTube, but I'm not playing it tonight. Tomorrow will be lawsuit material. Maddox. Oh, wait, let me start this outro. Maddox versus Dick Masterson. It is the lawsuit that started it all for my channel. It is where, yeah. It is, it's why all this stuff happened. So if you want the origin story, I'll be telling that origin story tomorrow with, of course, a perspective on what has transpired since then. There's some big news in the lawsuit that broke today in two different ways. We'll talk about that. Maybe Dick Masterson will join me on the show. I'll DM him and ask for sure. All right, guys. I hope you have a wonderful evening. Agent Frazier says, put your shoe on camera to really make Shane upset. I can't. I already ate it and it was delicious. Lane 20 says, when Ronica loses this case, I'll enjoy watching Shane go through the 5 stages of grief in 10 minutes. Yeah, me too, especially binge eating. All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. Enjoy the outro song. I'll see you on Twitch in just a little bit. I'm not playing Ace Attorney on Twitch. I'm playing Warhammer Chaos Bane. All right, guys. Peace. Peace. Make sure that he has the time and the place to provide for them there. So pour out an odd bag about more of that frog. The spirits flow as the ones who get unemployed. So pour out a glass for the tea post on Twitter as we hear lawsplaining tonight. From the wide shores of Nan to the hills of Glenlivet, there's no one who explains the law better than Nick. So pour out a glass for the ones who have passed to make the law what we are now. Oh, the guests are all plenty folks from Dundee to Drexel. They bring their perspective and spice to the mix. But the reason we're here and the one that we cheer is the one who is showcasing us his career. Shores of Nan to the hills of Glenlivet, there's no one who explains the law better than Nick. So pour